YouTube, Captain Mac here, and welcome back to the life of a virtual airline pilot. And we are going to start a very, well, it's really special, but it's sort of like an interlude or a side trip, if you will. I mentioned it on Facebook. Some of you may have seen it. I'm going to go over that here again in just a second. But what we're going to do is that the vote that you guys have been doing for the next flight, that still counts. We are absolutely going to be doing that flight, but what we're going to do is we're going to take a little side trip here, and this side trip's going to last a little while, but I think it's absolutely necessary. In fact, we're definitely obligated to do it. I feel obligated to do it, not in a bad way either. I'm very excited about it, and so we're definitely going to do it. And as you can see down here on our next 10 bids, there are 3 Southwest Airlines flights already bid on. We're going to rack up some hours while we're doing this, and I think we're going to have a lot of fun, but we're going to have to do things a little bit differently. And what I'm going to do, starting with, is I'm going to spend a little less time talking here. Well, actually, I'll probably talk the most at the beginning of this particular video, and then we're going to move on. But let's take a look at what we got going on so that you guys understand the little side trip that we're going to be taking here. So if you take a look here, this is a post. I copied this off of Facebook and just pasted it into a Word document here to make it easy for everybody to read. This is the KSTL Christmas Challenge, which began actually 2 days ago. And I was able to get in a little late, and the reason I was able to get in a little late is because this challenge has actually been dedicated to me. And so now you see why I feel obligated to participate in this. And actually, I'm really excited about it. I think this is really neat. So let's read through this a little bit really quick. So the KSTL Christmas Challenge begins technically yesterday, not 2 days ago, but yesterday. Today's Tuesday. And you had to sign up in the forums. If you haven't already signed up or you looked on Facebook and you saw the post that I put on there, I'm sorry. I did not realize that signups were already closed by the time I saw the post. But this is an exclusive event, and it's all 737s. They're all going to be Southwest Airline flights. And so here's how it works. This is a Founders Challenge in honor, and this is my good friend, one of the founders. He's a Brit, and he spells honor the way they used to spell it there in Britain. So that's why we get to leave it alone. We found the spelling first. But anyway, in honor of Captain Mac. And I saw that, and I was just like, really? I'm really touched by this. I'm just blown away. This is awesome. So in honor of Captain Mac, who it must be said has proven to be our marketing man extreme for 2016, and he's quite the rhymer, he is. You can catch a lot of his aircraft reviews and stuff online. He's a great guy. But anyway, through his constant mention of PVA on his YouTube stream, The Life of a Virtual Airline Pilot, which we're doing right now, the extra injection of the Mac effect, I hadn't even heard of the Mac effect, but that's pretty awesome, has not been insubstantial in generating further interest. In other words, people have gone over to Phoenix Virtual Airways as a result of my videos. And for those of you that have, thank you so much. I really appreciate that, and I hope that you're getting as much out of this virtual airline as I am. That being said, I am a member of KSTL Hub, and so there's a 6-week KSTL Mayhem Challenge. That's what we got going on here. So for those with the mildest of interest, I'm reading right down here. For those with the mildest of interest, please sign up below for the event. Sign-ups are already closed, my apologies, which will consist of you becoming a temporarily assigned line pilot to Southwest Airlines flying out of St. Louis. So no matter what hub you were at, if you join this challenge, you've got temporarily assigned to KSTL, where you'll be rostered for the next 6 weeks up to the end of December 2016. You get a free jump seat to get you over to KSTL. Now, I got a good friend of mine, Easy. He's doing this, and he said, I ain't jump seating. So he's going to fly over there. We're going to jump seat because that's the only way we're going to have any hope of getting this done. So free jump seat to KSTL to begin, and a free get out of here jump seat to the airport of your choice. So right now, we're located at, come on, brain function. Anyway, I'll look it up. But wherever we're located right now, I'm going to write that down, and that's where we're going to go back to. So we'll get a free jump seat back to there. Free jump seat means they're not going to charge us any hours. Okay. Plus, you get 5 bonus hours for taking part. So we're going to get 5 bonus hours out of this for completing any one of the week's rosters. And for those, now this is the really cool thing here. Okay. If you complete the challenge, you do all 6 weeks and complete it, you get a 20-hour bonus. That's awesome, right? 20-hour bonus. How generous can a generous VA be? Indeed. But here's the thing. It doesn't matter what rank you are. We're flying 737s, but if you're a probationary first officer, you can fly this. You get a waiver to fly it. If you complete all of the challenge and you're still below the rank of captain, in other words, if you haven't reached the rank of captain by the end of the challenge, but you completed it, then by default, you get promoted to captain. So even if you're a PFO, probationary first officer, if you complete this challenge, if you signed up and you complete it, you'll be promoted to captain when you're done. And then the rest is mostly administrative stuff. So let's take a look here. This is the roster. This is week 1. Now, I'm already 2 days behind, okay? This started yesterday. It's the end of Tuesday, and you can see there's 3, 6, 9, 11 flights. 11 flights that I got to complete by the end of the week. I have to work. I got to go to work starting tomorrow, and normally I'm off on Sunday, so you'd think, well, I can at least knock out 3 or 4 of them on Sunday. Heck, I could probably do all these on Sunday. Nope, I have to work this Sunday, which means somehow, some way, I have to find a way to squeeze in 11 flights this week, and I figured out how I'm going to do it. Here's the way this is going to go. These videos are going to be a little bit different. We're still going to do all the things that we do. However, pause for effect. We're going to be doing quick turns. So this is your first, this is these first 3 legs, this is like day 1, right? Okay. So what we're going to do is, so this is your 12-hour duty time, then you get a rest period and all that. We're going to do all 3 of these flights back to back, and I'm going to record this video is going to have all 3 of these flights in it. They're all going to be quick turns. So we're going to go from KSTL to KMSY, which is down in New Orleans, and then from New Orleans out to MDW, Midway, and then from Midway back to KSTL. And that's going to be our first series of flights, okay? So that's all going to be on this video. And then these 2 are going to be a quick turn on a video together. And then these 3 will all be one video, and these 3 will all be one video. And somehow, some way, I'm going to find a way to get all of these 11 flights done by Sunday evening. Now, this video's already behind. By the time you're seeing this video, week 1 is done. Week 2 might be done because you got 1, 2, 3, 4 videos right here, and it takes a lot of time to put the videos together. So you're talking all of me running my mouth, which I tend to do. And then we got to do all the pre-start, pre-flight, all of that stuff, which we're gonna try and find a way to go a little bit quicker through it while not missing out on the things that make Captain Mac Channel what it is. I'm sure I'm going to miss things. I'm sure I'm going to mess some things up. I'm sure there's still things I don't know about the airplane that I'm supposed to know. I get all that. My apologies in advance, but we're going to do the best we can on this. So all of that's still going to be there, but what's going to happen is we're going to do the first flight. We're going to go through our full startup, all of that stuff. We're going to take off, climb. We should get some some elevator music out of it. Then we'll get the arrival briefing, approach, landing, and then taxi in, get the APU on, go through the shutdown, and start offloading passengers, and then start prepping for the next flight. So when we land down in New Orleans, we're not going to shut everything down. We're going to start prepping for the next flight. But by the time you see this, all of these 3 flights right here, by the time I get the flights done, you figure there's 2, 3, 4, almost 5 hours worth of flying time right there, and all the editing time for the video, which is an additional probably 2.5 to 3 hours total editing time, compiling time, and uploading time. By the time you see this video, we're going to be somewhere here on week 2 or maybe even on week 3. So understand that the videos are going to be behind, but I'm going to keep them coming as quick as I can, and if I can, I'll get more than one video out a week so that you guys can see these. And I'm hoping you'll join me for this entire adventure. And even if you didn't sign up for if you weren't able to sign up for this challenge, take a look right here, right now, because this is going to be our initial briefing page for the rest of this series. So for the next however many videos this gives us, this is going to be our briefing page instead of the website. We're not going to be going back to the website over and over for this series. It's going to be a little bit different. So take a look here at week 1. Write down the flights. If you're not a member of PVA, I don't know why. You should have joined. It's a fantastic, great time. But anyway, if you're not a member of PVA and you don't want to be, that's fine. You can still do the flights with us. Here's all the flights right here. And let us know down in the comments below the video whether or not you've been joining us for these flights. All right, that's a whole lot of talky talk there. So what I need to do is get a few flight plans together, get us over to the not to the website, get us into the sim, fire up the ACARS, and let's get this first flight underway because we're already way behind, folks. All right, here we are. We got our 8 cars ready to rock and, well, not ready to rock and roll. We just got it pulled up. I've gone ahead and grabbed the bid, which of course is going to be our first flight of the day, KSTL to KMSY. Note that our current location is still at Newark, so we're going to get told that this is a different location, that it's a jump seat, but it's a free jump seat, so we'll be good to go. And a few of my compatriots at PVA, they don't do jump seats, so they're going to look at this and go, oh, I did a jump seat. But the truth is, I got to squeeze in 11 flights in 5 days, and I have to work all of those 5 days. And I work 10-hour shifts, so I get up at 3 something in the morning, and I don't get home until almost 5 o'clock at night. So I got to squeeze them in. I don't even know how I'm going to do it yet, but we're going to try and get this first one done. So jumping over here, I'm just taking a look real quick at my flight plan. It's got our initial altitude flight level 390. So grab a previous route first just to make it easy. And it wanted us to take Turbo 8, which, by the way, Turbo 8, and I'm just going to do this while I talk because I need to move quicker. Turbo 8 departure star, or not star, SID, the Turbo 8 SID, they don't have it on Navigraph charts. We got all that set up. Let's click Start Flight. It's going to tell us 738. It's scheduled for 733. That's fine. They're interchangeable. So we'll go ahead and take that. See, flight departing from KSTL. You're located at KEWR. Do you wish to continue? As soon as I hit yes, it's going to charge me a jump seat. But because this is a free jump seat, we won't lose the hours. So we'll click yes. She's rocking and rolling. And here we are in our Southwest Airlines PMDG 737 Warrior 1 repaint. Looks fantastic. Now, the point I was trying to make real quick, the Turbo 8 star, I don't have a chart for that, so I'm not going to be able to brief that. But if it's in the FMC in the computer, we're going to plug it in. If it's not, then we're going to go direct to our first waypoint, and that's going to be that. But we will not have a departure briefing for this flight, which is unfortunate. I probably could have pulled it up on AirNav, but the truth is I'm rushing just a little bit, so I'm probably not even, you know what, because I'm not going to brief it, here's your departure briefing. We're going to go direct to the first waypoint, which is FAM VOR. That's what we're going to do, and that way I don't have to go dig through AirNav for the chart right now. Not that it takes long, but I got a lot of flights and not a lot of time. So let's hop on into the aircraft, and we're going to do this just a little bit different. We're going to do it quite a bit different. What I'm actually going to do is I'm going to set up the whole aircraft. I'll talk a little as I'm doing it, but I'm going to get the whole aircraft set up and ready to rock and roll. And then we're going to go back to our pre-flight checklist or something like that. I'm going to spend a lot more time just doing what I need to do and a lot less time talking through it, and that's going to kind of be the case for most of these flights. So we might lose just a touch of the tutorial aspect, but just watch what I'm doing, watch the flows. They may not be exactly accurate, but I will tell you, I've talked with a 737 training captain who's a friend of mine, flies for one of the major airlines, and he says that I'm pretty close to the way, not that I got everything right, but that I'm pretty close to the way they do it too. So just saying, throwing that out there. But what I do want to do first is I want to pop this up. If I remember correctly, you hold down the menu button. Yep, there she is. She comes on. Let's go to FS Actions, and let's start with our fuel here. We need 10,920 pounds of fuel. Oh, I'm sorry, hold on, return, let's go back. I want to go ground connections, and I want to connect the ground power, and I'm going to try and make it a habit to do this all the way through these flights, because even when they're doing quick turns, they connect ground power while they're doing refueling and stuff like that. So for fuel, we want 10,920 pounds, and we're going to put it exactly what our flight plan says and see how that pans out for us. And you saw the aircraft lift up a little bit as we get all that fuel in there. So there's the fuel there. And then I want to go to, we're not going to do payload, but instead I want to go to the doors page, because I'm going to try and request boarding. I'm going, left entry's open. We'll see which doors they ask us to open. I'm going to try and do it like, we're a Southwest line pilot here. That's what we're acting as. We're flying for PVA. We're contracted to Southwest Airlines. We're going to be a line pilot. So let's open the cargo doors, because they are going to ask us to open those for sure. And then I don't know which door they're going to ask us to open on the right-hand side. You know what? I'll tell you what, I'll make it real simple. I'm going to open all the doors. I know that's not necessarily the best way to do it, but I turned off the little thing up here, the little green bar that tells you what they want you to do, because it was driving me nuts. So let's just open all the doors there, and then if we hop outside the aircraft, So you can see we didn't necessarily need these doors open, but that's fine. They're open for the moment anyway. And then, yeah, they're good. I'll probably close these emergency exits here. And let's see here. We can close this aft. We can close the aft right door. We can close the front right door. We'll leave. We'll close all the emergency exits, and then we'll close the. Yep, that's it. The aft left door needs to stay open. So let's do that real quick. So overwing doors can be closed. Aft entry on the right side can be closed, and the emergency exits can be closed there. Forward door can be closed there, if I remember correctly. And then that's all cargo. So did we get that right? Yep, we got that right. Okay, fantastic. So let's start getting this aircraft powered up. We do have ground power on. So emergency lights and battery can come on, and then ground power can go on right here. And bam, we're on ground power just like that. So let's bring in power onto the aircraft. Let's go ahead and kick on the fuel tanks. We shouldn't need the center pumps. We should be good to go without those. And we're not going to fire up the EPU quite yet. Passengers are boarding, so we'll turn fast and seatbelt signs and all that good stuff on. I like to put that to both. Logo light can go on. Strobe can stay as it is. Anti-collision wing lights can come on. And we're looking good there. Which means we need to go up top here, actually. Double right click over to nav, and then when it says align on both of them, I'll click them back over to align by left clicking once each. There we go, and then we'll hop down here, go into our FMC. Let me get speed brakes not working. Okay, so that probably means that I haven't set this up through FSU IPC yet. I have not. Profile specific, yes, generals. And then PMDG 737, that's all I got to do, and watch, it'll work now. Bam, just like that. That's what's nice when you have all your profiles set up in there, right? Okay, so position initialization. We go to page 2, grab one of these GPS positions. I'm going to try and talk through it as I go here, but we're going to be going quite a bit quicker. And set it in there, and then we can go straight to route. We do have a company route for this one, so it's going to be KSTL to KMSY, right? Yeah, KMSY, and I always do the 01. Put it in company route, finds it right away, activate it, and execute. We didn't put the flight number in there yet. It's 3929. It's technically 3929B, but that's just a PVA thing because of the way their system works. So we're going to stick with 3929. Go to performance initialization, 0 fuel weight. Click once, it puts it down here. Click it again, and there we go. We have it. Reserves, we can do 2,000 on this. That'll be just fine. And then our cost index, this is Southwest. So actually, Southwest, they get to moving. Let me tell you. Somebody said they taxi at V1. And then flight level 390. Put that in there. We're going to have to execute that as well. And then go to our N1 limit. We're just going to rock and roll right out of here. I'm not going to change any of that. We don't need to derate anything. We could. We just don't need to. We don't need full takeoff either, but that's fine. And we're gonna be flying 737. I'm gonna stick with this same aircraft, 737-800, for all of these flights, just so you know. Flaps 10, center of gravity. Click it once, puts it down in the scratch pad. Click it again. There you go. And trim needs to be 4.68. And from what I've seen, it's pretty darn close every time. That's 4. That's 4.5. So we could probably bring it up just a skoshie. And there we go. We're good to go on that. Now we haven't put in a departure runway yet, so we don't have any V speed. So let's go ahead and click on departure and arrival. KSTL departure. The wind today is 092 at 4 knots. So we're going to be taking runway 12 right, partly because that's the closest runway. And no matter what we take, we're going to be doing a bit of a crosswind anyway. So I'm going to go with 12 right. That's not too bad. So we'll pick 12 right, and then I'm just going to see if turbo 8 is... No, we already said we're not going to do that. We're not doing turbo 8. So we're just going to pick 12 right, execute that, go back to the route, and then takeoff page. And now the V speeds are in there. So we can put those in there. We don't need to change conditions or anything. We don't have a wet runway or anything like that. We could put the runway wind in there, 092 at 4. So let's do that. It's going to erase our V speeds. That's all right. So 092/4, put that right there. Takeoff speed is deleted. We already knew that was going to happen. The runway's dry. If it was wet, it changes your V1 speed. So that changed these just a little bit, not much. So we'll put those back in there. We're good to go. And then let's jump over to the legs page. So FAM is our first waypoint, and then it's J35 all the way out to MEM. So that's going to include Russell or Kimmel, then MEM, and then it's still J35 out to MCB according to this. So XS, SQS McGee, and then MCB. And then our arrival is going to be Rhythm 4. So we can go departure, arrival again. And we can put our arrival in here. We're not going to put our runway in yet, even though I'm pretty sure I know which runway we're going to be landing on. We'll take care of that in a little bit. So there's our arrival for now. That's in there. Go back to route, takeoff. Everything's good to go. Just like that, we've got this thing set up. Does not actually take all that much. I'm going to leave this on FS action so I don't forget to close doors and disconnect ground connections and all of that good stuff. I don't know if they're done loading passengers yet because I don't get the announcements, but they backed off, which means they should be done loading passengers. You can see there's our ground power right there. Fantastic. For the 737 repaint competition, I do have a couple of entries at this point, and one of them actually they even put their paint scheme on that little ground power cart, so that was pretty cool. Now we don't get the little notification on here that tells us how long to IRS alignment, but I'm pretty sure it's aligned already. So we can right click these over to nav, and then when we come back down here, yep, sure enough, she's already aligned. So we're good to go on that. We can get rid of that guy. The spoilers are extended. That's what this light right here was for. Off the top of my head, I don't recall. Well, no, we're flying direct to our first waypoint, so we don't have any altitude restrictions on departure. So 39, not 39.9, just 39 or 390. And then what was our V2 speed? I don't recall. Unable 250 knots at rhythm. Okay, that's fantastic. I'll take your word for it. Let's go back to the takeoff page. It was 141. So technically, that's what we're supposed to set this guy at, is 141. 43, 2, 1. Flight directors both can come on at this point. Those are good to go, and then we can arm the LNAV and the VNAV. It does not want to arm the LNAV, which means it could be that there's something wrong with this, but there's not, so I'm not sure why it's not arming it. Let's see if there's no discontinuities or anything. Everything's straight out. Oh yeah, there's a discontinuity there in there. How'd I miss that? Next page. Okay, there it is. Rhythm. Okay, so we get rid of that discontinuity. Bam, just like that. Now it should let us arm it. Or it's going to lie to me. What's the FMC? Yeah, I got you. You're unable 250 knots at rhythm, but that's weird. It's not letting me arm that for some reason. I've had that happen once in a while, but usually it's a pretty quick and easy fix. Usually a discontinuity or something, but I don't see any other discontinuities in here, guys, so not really sure why that is. Yeah, I don't want this to drag on for too long. VNAV, LNAV, VNAV. Let's try turning flight directors back off for just a second, and then turn them back on, and then try it again. Maybe resetting them, I don't know. It could just be because we got that turn straight away coming out of there. I don't know. We're gonna find out though. We'll try and arm it again once. Let's get this test going here. Once we get out to the runway, or we'll hand fly it until we get it figured out or something. I don't know. And that's going through its test right now. Our departure runway is 122 degrees. So let's set our heading to 122. That's too far. Okay. Let's go through a couple checklists here, and let's make sure we didn't miss anything. I like to do that here, so whatever. Let's see, flight planning and dispatch stuff. We've already taken care of that. We got our flight plan. Passengers and cargo are getting loaded. We're going to close doors here in just a second. Let's see, cockpit acceptance, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so here we go. Park and brake set. We did take care of that, right? Yep, we did. Park and brake set. Battery is on. Electric hydraulic pumps are off. Landing gear is down. Start levers are in the idle and cutoff position. Actually, it's throttles in idle, and the start fuel levers here are in the cutoff position. Overhead fuel valve lights illuminated. Those are not now because I already put the fuel pumps on. Ground power is on. Fire warning systems, we did not test those. Let's hop up here and test those real quick. Next one up, right? Wait. Oh, I'm losing my mind now. This is stall warning. There's one. There's two. There we go. Those are flaps. What am I missing? Where's the fire ones at? You can tell I haven't done that in a while, huh? I miss that every time too, don't I? Fire warning. Let's see. Window heats can come on. I didn't do those yet, so I'll just do that while I'm here. We can turn the probe heats on. Hydraulic pumps can come on. Yaw damper probably will just kick back off here in a second. What? I'm losing my mind here. Where's the fire warning system? I know I've tested it before, but for some reason now I don't seem to know where it is. And I'm sure somebody will tear me up in the comments about that. But I'm just looking here. It's not, yeah, I don't even think it's on this panel, guys. Yeah, I must be losing my mind or something. I did the stall warning test here. Here's the high speed. We already tested the flight recorder, engine control, crew oxygen, all of that's in good order. That's our landing gear indicators. Yeah, I must have lost my mind. It's probably staring me in the face just like it always is. It's down here somewhere, isn't it? My apologies, guys. I feel kind of like an idiot. But such is life. We can do the, what's this one? This, ground proximity, right? Yeah.
Glide slow. Pull up. Wind shear. Wind shear. Wind shear. Terrain. Terrain. Pull up.
Just let it finish going through all this. Fire warning, but that doesn't test it. Where's the test? These are lights. That's the test for all the lights. All the lights are working. Yep. You know what? I'm not sitting here screwing with it all day. I don't know what. I don't know why. For some reason, I suddenly. It's probably staring me in the dang face, and I hate when that happens. But you know what? Sometimes I'm just an idiot. It's right here. Here we go. Dirt. See, I knew it was going to be somewhere pretty much staring me in the face. Okay, and that's it. Yeah, these aren't the tests. Okay, everything's good there. Now that I'm done acting like an idiot. What else? Emergency exits. Those will be armed automatically as far as I know. I've never done anything to arm those. I'm sorry, signs are on, recirc fans on auto, engine bleeds are supposed to be off, and passenger boarding has already been commenced. Let's make sure the engine bleeds are off. There's one, there's two, those are off. And then that'll take us to the APU start, which we're getting ready to do here. And we can do that while the jetway's still out, even though we're pretty much done loading. So while the APU is spinning up, let's go ahead and start closing some doors. Let's see, the right forward door is already closed. Closed. Left entry aft, we can close that one. Go to page 2, we can close the cargo doors, and I don't think we actually needed the equipment hatch open. So we can close all those. And the only one left, whoops, wrong button, is the main entry door there. And I think we're probably good to go there as well. Packs should be loaded by now. So let's go ahead and we'll close that door. Let's get rid of the jetway. Hop back up top. That APU should be just about done firing up, and sure enough it is. Look at that. Waiting on the APU. It's like the fastest I've ever gone through any startup, isn't it? Okay, we're on that, so we can turn ground power off. There it is. Should be off now. We're good to go on that. Okay, so let's do the overhead setup checklist. And this is not necessarily laid out the way I'm showing the checklist on the video here. I still need to find my proper checklist, and I don't know where the heck it went. But anyway, flight control panel, we checked that. We're good on that. Yaw damper on. It did stay on. I thought it would click off, but it didn't. Fuel system panel, check. We're good on that. Fuel pumps on is required. It's going to be these 4 right here. We won't have any in the center. Let's see. Electric panel, check. We're good there. Equipment cooling is good. Window heat is on. Probe heat, it says to have off. I had it on, so let's go and turn it back off. Anti-ice is off. Hydraulics panel, check. We're good there. System A and B switches are both on. That's these guys right here, A and B. Let's see. Air conditioning panel checked. Left pack should be on auto, and it's in the off position right now. Right pack will need to be on auto as well. No, it says right pack open, actually. That's kind of weird. Left pack auto. Oh, I'm sorry. Isolation valve open, and then right pack auto. So isolation valve is open. Right pack's on auto. We'll turn those off as we push back. We'll need to. Flight altitude set for cruise. We missed that. So 39,000. There we go. And then our landing altitude. Ooh, what is our landing altitude? I don't know it off the top of my head, but we're landing. Well, it's going to be really close to sea level. I know that. So we're going to put it for the moment at 50 feet. And if I need to change it, I will. But I'll have to take a look at the chart before we do anything with that. FMC initialization is completely done. I'm not even going to read the checklist on that. I know we got that done. What we haven't figured out yet is why the LNAV won't come on. I have no idea why it won't come on. Everything is set up the way that it's supposed to be set up as far as the FMC is concerned. I know that for a fact. Park and brake is on, so we can get rid of the AP or the ground power. Pitot covers can come off, and wheel chocks can be removed. Fantastic. Now we should be able to take this over to the FMC in the progress page and be good to go there. So I've got everything set up with the exception of it won't arm the LNAV, and I don't know why it's not arming the LNAV right now. You know what I haven't done yet is I haven't set my barometric pressure. 3034. A little high there. 3034, and I don't think it set it over here, did it? Yeah, it did. For some reason it sets it the first time, but then when I change it later, it doesn't set it. So for the main panel, minimums as desired. We're not even going to touch minimums yet because we're going to have to set them anyway on descent. Altimeter set local. There it is. Mode selector on map. We're good there. Center switch as desired. We don't need that. We don't need to set the course. Flight directors are on. Auto throttles are off. Heading is set to runway heading. Altitude is set for the initial clearance, which is all the way up. Autopilots are off. No flags on the primary flight display. Auto brake is in RTO. Engine instruments are good to go right now because nothing's running. We're not doing anything with the radios. Speed brake is down. Thrust levers are idle. Engine start levers are cut off, and stabilizer trim is set, which means we are ready for pushback. And I'm going to roll right into it. Prepare for pushback and departure. We need the nose to go to the right and the tail to go to the left. We do not want to start before pushback. And I need to turn on my... is he coming over here? You coming? Or am I going to have to do this manually? Let's try this one more time. Deboarding no longer available. Waiting for other services to complete. Huh? What other services? Did they not finish loading passengers? Oh, come on, are you serious? What are you telling me they didn't finish loading passengers there? Okay, let's open the door up here. I didn't even need to pop that up, did I? Open the door. Menu, FS Actions, doors, apt entry, open that up. And while that's opening up and they're finishing up, I'm going to go ahead and break away so I can get my track IR turned on, all of that good stuff. And then I will come back on when we're ready to push and start. Alright, so we just got the word to release parking brakes. I had actually reset GSX. For some reason it just wasn't finished loading. There's the parking brakes coming off. There's our A cars kicking in over there. And so for startup, I'm going to go down the checklist real quick. Most of this stuff's actually, you know what, let's just do this. We need to make sure the packs are off. So you got to right click them, not left click them. The isolation valve, does it say anything about it? I think you can leave it where it's at. but the engine bleeds are going to need to be on, correct? I know that the APU bleed needs to be on. I don't remember about the engine bleeds. Let's go ahead and turn the engine bleeds on. And then we're going to start the right engine first. I was going to say the left, but we're going to start the right engine first. We've got it on both. The ignition, you could put it to right if you want, but we're going to just roll it to ground. And we should see the N2 starting to come up. There it is right there. You can see N2 starting to come up. I don't know why we're getting chopped in there. There's nothing going on. Anyway, once that gets to 25 or higher, then we can go ahead and introduce fuel, right? 25 or higher. So there's 23, 24, and there's 25. So click on the fuel, and you should see her fire right up. She's coming up now. Engine or exhaust gas temperature's coming up. N1's starting to come up now. Actually taking a surprisingly long time to fire up here.
Set parking brakes.
Maybe that isolation valve does need to be. Well, I usually have it on auto, so I don't know. I don't know. I mean, is she working now? Oh yeah, she's working. I guess I just couldn't hear it. Okay, so engine 2, or engine 1 actually, second engine being started, same thing, just roll it to ground. Oh, I might be rushing just a little bit. Still won't let me arm the LNAV. No idea why. No idea. Everything's good. The only thing it's telling me is that I can't do 250 at rhythm. Not worried about that. There's 25. Introduce fuel.
Clear. Right is clear.
I don't know. Maybe it's because of the speed? No, that wouldn't make sense. It's got nothing to do with the lateral navigation. Well, we'll figure it out sooner or later. Alright, let's let that finish stabilizing. As it does, let's go ahead and take care of our after start stuff. Engine generators need to be on. That's these guys up here. So basically that just means popping these guys over. And if you click on that and it doesn't go over, that means it's not running fast enough or not high enough RPMs or whatever for the generator to work. I don't know. It's not ready for the generator to kick in. Right click to turn off the APU. She's coming off now. Probe heat can definitely come on at this point. As can, let's see, recirc fans were already on auto, but packs can go on auto now. APU bleed can go off. Engine bleeds stay on. And we are good on everything up here except taxi lights need to come on. Strobe, I'm just going to click it on even though we technically don't need it on quite yet. And we should be good to go. Let's take a look at the checklist really quick. Probe heat is on. Anti-ice as required. We don't need it. Engine bleeds are on. Packs are on auto. Isolation valve is on auto. I never saw a thing to turn it off, so I don't know. APU bleed is off. APU switch is off. External lights as required. Master caution light needs to be off. It is. Recall, nothing. And it's over here further. Recall and nothing. It stays on if there's an issue. So we're good on all of that. And then taxi, we've got our clearance. We've already got our salute from the ground crew, so our taxi speed, it says less than 20 knots. Yeah, this is Southwest Airlines. We're going to be taxiing faster than that. Let's go ahead and flip on the track IR. There's the parking brakes coming off. And as we start to taxi out, even though it doesn't say it, we can go ahead and set our flaps. That should be flaps 10 there. And this thing does get going pretty easy, so I already cut the throttle back. And we need to take, let's see, we should be on Charlie here. We can take this all the way to the end, and that's going to put us right on the runway that we want. So, good to go there. And I'm not going to make you guys sit here for the whole taxi. You don't have to worry about that. I really wish that LNAV would kick in. I don't understand why LNAV isn't arming. That's not making sense to me. Am I missing something? I mean, I know I'm going really quick, but I don't think I'm missing anything. I'm usually... I mean, I've done this a bunch of times in this aircraft, so I think I pretty much got it. Well, not pretty much. I think I got everything. So I'm absolutely not positive. We even went over the checklist, and I'm not seeing anything in the checklist that's saying we missed something. So that's a little bit confusing, but such is life. Just heard something click. What clicked? That's kind of weird. We'll get it figured out one way or another. If I gotta hand fly it for a little while until I get her to kick on, but it is what it is. So let me pop this track IR off for just a second. I'm gonna go ahead and pause the video, and I will bring it back on when we are holding short of the runway. And here we are holding short of the runway. I still can't get the LNAV to arm. The only thing I can think is because it's an immediate turn on takeoff. It's the only thing I can think of, but I'm not even sure if that's it. So we're gonna take off, and we're gonna try manually flying until we get it worked out. So because I'm not gonna sit here and wait and try and figure it out, because there's no logical explanation for it at this point. So okay, we should be good to go actually with that, but let's go ahead and just take a look at our before takeoff checklist. Master caution light is off. Recall, we checked that again. We're good there, and we're good there. So recall is good. Flight controls need to be free and correct. We know that they are, but we can, full up, full down, full left. There's no display on here. Full left, full right, rudders. So not really sure what they want you to use for that, to be honest with you. That's kind of weird. I would think there's a display on here, but you got engine, and that's it. So yeah, anyway, moving on. Flaps are set. Trim is checked. Flight directors are on. Takeoff briefing is completed. Again, we didn't do a departure briefing on this one because we're going direct to the first waypoint, since we don't have a chart for the departure. Strobe lights are on, wing lights are on, landing lights are on, runway turnoff lights are on. Engine start switches need to go to continuous. That's one to the right. Auto throttle has been armed, and transponder is on TARA. So we're good to go. Bam, little hop. There we go. And let's get her out on the runway and get going, shall we? Anybody coming? I don't see anybody coming. Fantastic. I don't know why I get that little hand just kind of stays there. I think I'm kind of a little far back in this aircraft, but it's not too bad. So, and we're going to go right into a rolling takeoff here. And then once we get her airborne, of course, we'll take care of our after takeoff stuff, and then we'll go into our elevator music and call it good. And then that'll be it until we get ready to land for this first leg. Whew, this is going to be busy. I still don't know how I'm going to fit all these in. Okay, bringing the throttle up a little bit. Bring it up around, I think it's supposed to be 70 on this one. I haven't looked at it in a little while, but there we go. She's coming up. Put on the toga. There she is. Make sure we're straightened on the runway here, because I'm kind of wiggling all over the place. Alright, looking good. Got the hands on the throttle, just in case we need to reject the takeoff. Hopefully we won't. Coming up on B1.
B1.
Hands off the throttle. There's rotate. Go ahead and pull her back. Already to V2. Line up that flight director. Definitely got a positive rate of climb. Let's go ahead and get the landing gear coming up. We could bring up flaps at this point. Or, well, not bring them up. But we're going to go to flaps 5.
Gear up.
And we'll be making our turn here shortly. So, now remember, that's our minimum speed for flaps 5. So we don't want to slow down any at the moment. I probably shouldn't have brought the flaps out yet. Live and learn. Let's try arming that LNAV again. Ah, now it's armed. Fantastic. I don't know why it wouldn't arm, but it didn't want to. Now there's our decelerate. You hear the engines rolling back. It's an easy flight director to follow for the most part, isn't it? Okay, we can go ahead and take the flaps to flaps 2 there. Looking pretty good right now. And we're still hand flying, of course. We can go to flaps 1 now. And as we're doing that, let's go ahead and turn on the autopilot so we can take care of our after takeoff stuff, because I got supper waiting for me. We're past the flaps up stage, so we can go ahead and bring flaps all the way up now. Let the aircraft take care of business on its own. Let me turn the track IR off so we're not hopping all over the place. We can turn the RTO or the auto brakes back to the off position. We don't need them on RTO anymore. She looks like she's climbing good right now. I don't have any warnings of any sort. We could always hit the recall and see if there's anything not popping up, but right now everything's doing exactly what we expect for it to do. And let's see. Do you click off or, yep, you click the off. Okay, so we've got the landing gear in the off position. Now let's go take care of this after takeoff checklist. The gear is already up. We're already into climb speed, and the flaps are up. Gear is in the off position. Auto brakes are off, and the engine starters can go off at this point as well. Turn those off. Let's keep an eye on our altitude here. Yep, we're getting close to 10,000, so landing lights are going to need to come off pretty soon. Autopilot nav modes are already on, and MCP altitude is set as required. So the only thing left to do, we're going to go into the climb checklist here in a minute, but what we want to do is we want to get past 10,000 feet first, because some of the climb checklist involves having the landing lights turned off, right? So fantastic. We're almost there. 8,600 feet, coming up on 9,000 pretty fast. She's climbing like a rocket ship. It is not going to take us long to get there. I mean, this thing is cruising. Look at that. That's beautiful, isn't it? It's a lot of fun to fly these things. I'm having a good time. I really am. I'm having a good time. We're kind of, it maybe sounds like I'm rushing just a little bit. Let's go take those landing lights off. I'm not really rushing it. I'm just moving quickly because we got to get 3 flights in just for day 1 to be done, right? 3 flights just for day 1 to be done. There's a lot going on. So, yeah. We could, those are on auto. We'll leave those on auto. Yeah, you know, we've got 3 flights just for day 1. I mean, there's a lot going on. It's busy. We're going to be busy, and I got to, and every single flight I've done with PVA, I've done a video on it. I have not done a single flight on PVA without recording it for you guys. So in order for me to do this challenge, I got to do a lot of recordings in a short amount of time. So the videos again are going to come out, you know, late, a couple weeks late even. Compared to when I actually flew it, but I'm really working hard to make sure that I record every one of these flights. So that's what we're going to do. Our climb checklist, VNAV was already engaged, seatbelt signs came off automatically, landing lights are already off at this point. When we hit transition altitude, we go to standard on the barometric pressure setting, which means there's nothing left to do except provide you with some of that wonderful and obligatory elevator music. Alright, we're about 20 miles from top of descent. You may have noticed already that there was no elevator music, and that's because after I broke away from the video, I decided that what I really want to do is, after the last takeoff for this day of flights, so there's 3 flights on this day, so after we depart, where is it, Chicago, after we depart Midway, I'm going to do elevator music for all 3 departures, and then after we land back at KSTL, I'll do landing cinematic for all 3 landings. I just think that'll be a little cooler, and it'll make the editing process a little easier, and it'll save us a little bit of time in the overall length of the video too, because it's already going to be pretty long. So, oh, excuse me. Hey, you can probably hear it in my throat. It's starting to kind of get scratchy or whatever. But anyway. Coming up on top of descent here, a little bit of business to take care of. First thing we want to do is we want to take this bad boy all the way down, and right after we start the descent, we're going to roll right into the arrival briefing. I think technically we're already on it. I kind of screwed the boot on that. That'll happen sometimes. But anyway, we'll do the arrival briefing, and then probably shortly after will be the approach briefing. Which you're gonna see why I put that at 2,000 feet for the approach briefing. I think there's a couple of altitude restrictions on the arrival. I'll double check them, but yeah, not that big of a deal. They're not altitude restrictions if I remember correctly, because remember I recorded those previously, and I don't have it up over here right now. It's not altitude restrictions, it is altitudes that we should expect to be assigned by ATC. That's what it is. So anyway, almost on top of descent here. The aircraft will start to descend on its own because we've already adjusted the MCP altitude. So descent checklist really is just monitoring the speed, looking for transition altitude. 3015 is going to be our altimeter, and then lights on as we go below 10,000 feet along with seatbelts and all that, which is all on auto anyway, so I'm not really too worried about that. So we're just going to hang out here with you for just a minute and make sure the descent starts properly without any issues, and then we will roll into your arrival briefing. That's the word I was looking for, the arrival briefing. Man, I cannot get it together today, can I? Whoops, didn't mean to click over there. Sorry about that. Anyway, almost there. You got to bear with me a little bit because I literally worked, you know, like a 10-hour shift today, and then I spent an hour and a half driving home in traffic because it's the day before Thanksgiving, and so everybody and their brother is on the road, and I'm really hoping that tomorrow, there's the start of our descent. I'm hoping that tomorrow, because it is Thanksgiving, it'll be much slower, and I'll be able to get home at a decent hour and get some more of these flights done. But anyway, we're on our descent now, so we're going to go ahead and we're going to roll right into the arrival briefing. And yeah, here it comes. All right, we're going to take the rhythm for arrival into KMSY today, or into New Orleans, and we're coming in off of MCB out here, or the Macomb VOR, and from there straight down here to Zydeco, and then to Rhythm. We need to be at 11,000 feet at Rhythm, or it says to expect 11,000 feet at Rhythm, so if we happen to be a little lower since we're not using ATC, we should be good to go. And then to Oyster, and then Rayop, and then on to our approach from there. Now I'm just trying to kind of get a feel for it here. So this is the airport's right here. We got a yeah, whatever, I'm just blathering on here. Anyway, here's the airport right here. Completely lost my mind. So once we get down to Rayop, from there, depending on which runway we're taking, which we'll get during our approach briefing, that'll determine whether we're going this way or this way. And that's pretty much it. That's going to take care of your arrival briefing. ATIS is going to be on 127.550 and approach control on 133.150. And that is that. No major obstacles to worry about, so we should be good. Alright, let's go. Alright, so the wind in New Orleans is, I'm probably saying that wrong. Is it New Orleans or New Orleans? You tell me. Anyway, the wind is 041 and 7 knots, altimeter 3015, so we're going to be taking the ILS runway hiccup to approach. The hiccup is not part of the approach name. And we're going to be starting all the way down here at OLED. Now keep in mind, we're coming in from the north actually, so our last waypoint's somewhere up here, and then we'll bang it out over here down to OLED. And then it's going to be a sharp turn from OLED to 074 degrees down to the initial approach, or to the initial fix. There's the initial approach fix, then the initial fix, and then the final approach point. But anyway, from OLED 074 degrees over to Royal, we'll call it Royal, and then down to PAV, or is it PAVI? It looks like PAVI, which is our final approach point, and then Europe, which I don't even think we put in there. I did already program this into the FMC. But I'll probably go over it real quick while we're doing descent or something like that. But anyway, and then on in from there. ILS frequency is 111.70, and IJFI is the Morse code identifier. Let's look at the profile view really quick. 2,134 meters of runway, plenty to work with. Standard 3-degree glide slope with happy lights on the left-hand side. Coming in from Royal, we want to be at 2,000 feet all the way up until we get to Hobie, where we'll start our descent there. We should intercept the glide slope at that point, and then down all the way in, unless we have a missed approach, of course, at which point we will climb at 016 degrees, which is our final approach heading, by the way. 016 degrees up to 1,500 feet, and then make a right turn and intercept the 082 degree radial for the RQR VOR out to Snaky, and continue a climb to 3,000 feet. What does that look like? Basically climbing straight ahead until we get to 1,500 feet. Once we hit 1,500 feet, we'll start a gradual right turn until we intercept this 082 degree radial from the RQR VOR, which is 110 nautical miles this way. That seems a little weird, but it is flat out there, so there shouldn't be any mountains in the way. And then continue out to Snaky, which is, that's kind of weird the way they have that set up. So, this says that it's 110.8 nautical miles from RQR, but then we're making a right turn and it says that Snaky is 36.6 nautical miles from RQR. So, perhaps this edge of the chart is 110 nautical miles, and then I don't know. I might be missing something there. If somebody understands why that's written that way, do let me know. But anyway, ATIS is on 127.550, tower on 119.50, and ground on 121.90. No major obstacles in the area to worry about, but to the east of the airfield we do have a bunch of, whether they're buildings or towers or whatever, I don't really know, but that's just something to keep in mind. A couple other airfields in the area, so we want to watch for other traffic. And that is pretty much the gist of it. There's your approach briefing. Alright, we just dropped below 10,000 feet. We've got our landing lights on at this point. And we can go all the way to flaps 5. There we go, flaps 5. So let's go ahead and the airfield is actually just off to our left over here. You can just make out part of it right there, I think. We still got to swing up and around. We're going to keep our speed at 240 as long as we can because I'm trying to get in there quickly. But let's go ahead and take care of this approach checklist. We've already briefed the approach. Nav radios are set. Now this one's important. What you need to do is, if you want to fly an ILS, you need to set both Nav 1 and Nav 2 radios to the ILS frequency, in our case 111.70. And then if you want to auto land, when you'll start out with the localizer button just as you do with all of them. Once it intercepts the localizer, you hit approach. And then once it captures the glide slope, you have to hit the other autopilot. So you have to have two autopilots working together in order for it to auto land. Also, we haven't done this yet, it's even telling us approach VREF not selected. We're going to do that right now. Just click initial reference. We're going to do a full flaps landing. It's not a really short runway, but it's not a really long runway either. So, I mean, we've got plenty of runway, don't get me wrong, but don't get me wrong. Don't get me long either, but don't get me wrong. We've got plenty of runway to work with, but we're going to go ahead and we're going to do a full flaps landing because that's typically what I do anyway. Now, and it's a difference of 8 knots. So I don't, you know what? I kind of don't want to. You know what? I kind of don't want to. Let's do a flaps 30 landing. I don't think I've ever done one of those. We should have plenty of runway for it. So we'll do flaps 30. Our speed is 138. So there's our VREF taken care of. We can just leave that page up right there. So we're going to go on that. What else we got here? Auto brake needs to be armed. We're going to put auto brakes 2. The auto spoilers are already armed. You can see it tells us right there, speed brake armed. They're popped up, so we're good on that. We're about to start making our turn here. Engine start switches need to go to continuous. 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 And let's just, that angle you can't hardly tell. There they are in continuous though. Alright, anything else on here? Once we get to the final approach fix, basically once we're on our final approach, we want to make sure we go to full flaps, gear down, all that stuff. Now as we come up on this turn here, and I've still got this pretty far out, as we come up on this turn, I am going to slow the speed down, and the turn, the increased drag of the turn is going to actually help us slow down, and that way I don't have to extend the spoilers and then possibly forget to rearm them or something like that, because we wouldn't want that to happen, would we? So you can see we're looking good. We do have a little bit of clouds, but we're breaking out of it right now, and it's scattered clouds, so we should be just fine. We don't really need an ILS, but we're going to use it to set us up for the approach, because, hey, why not? The final approach fix is 016 degrees, so let's go ahead and set this to 016. And let's set our course to 016 as well. There we go. And we're controlling the speed right now, which is the way I want it. So as soon as we start this turn, in fact I can just go ahead and do it right now. Let's go ahead and bring it down to 210 knots. And she's going to slow down pretty good, pretty easy. And I'm going to continue 210 until I get right around in here, I guess. And then we'll slow it down a little more. And I'm keeping this page up so that we don't forget. And flaps 30 is just one shy of full flaps. Now watch, the speed starts to drop pretty quick as we come through this turn, right? And that's because there's additional drag as the aircraft tries to maintain altitude coming through the turn. We have not set our minimums yet. Let's go ahead and do that. No, we don't want it on baro. We want it on radio. You gonna let me change it or what? Oh, it's such a pain. The aircraft has this, it's this weird thing they did with FSX where it sort of moves you around inside the aircraft. So when you're trying to click or turn something or click on something, it does weird stuff. There we are, 210 knots. You can see the throttles come back up just a little bit to help us maintain our speed now. And we're taking it all the way down to 2,000 feet. I don't know why it's doing this weird little whoop. I don't know why it doesn't just go straight to the waypoint there. Maybe it's an obstacle thing. Could be. You'll notice that our fuel is showing yellow over here, saying that it's low. But we put our reserves as 2,000 pounds, and we're expected to land with 2,900 pounds. So we're not running out of fuel or anything like that. Let's go ahead and bring the speed down to 180 now. There we go. And we're still good on flaps, so we don't need to bring in another flap setting or anything like that. But see, as we're turning back, that increased drag from the turn is helping us out a little bit. And I probably hopped on here just a little early for this approach. I'm trying to sort of, you know, keep the actual video portions as short as I can, just so that this video's not too terribly long. I mean, after all, we are doing 3 flights here, so that's certainly going to add to the length of the video substantially. But 180 knots is the speed at which we want to intercept our approach course. So I went ahead and I clicked on the VOR or VOR localizer, VOR localizer button there, whatever, however you want to call it. I always just call them a VOR. But anyway, you can see it's white down here below LNAV. Okay, that means it's armed but not active. LNAV is still active, right? So LNAV will remain active until we cross. Well, there, it just intercepted it. So you see it turned green now, and that means it's intercepted the localizer. Now with that, we can go ahead and press the approach button. We could wait a little bit until we see this diamond here turn magenta and start to line up, but we're going to go ahead and just hit the approach now. And we're looking pretty good. We're supposed to get to 2,000 feet by the time we get to Povey up here, so we're looking good for that as well. Now we're going to keep our speed at 180 knots for the moment. We don't need to slow all the way down to 100 and now 138 is supposed to be our landing speed. Keep that in mind as well. 138 is supposed to be our landing. It's our VREF speed for landing. So we want to be plus 5 knots on our approach. So 138 plus 5 is going to put us at 143. So that's what we're going to slow to once we start down on the glide slope. Now, interestingly enough, I'm looking at this thing. The glide slope's armed, but this thing's not turning magenta. Usually this turns, I call it purple, but whatever, magenta is the proper term. It's not turning colors, it's staying white for some reason. And that makes me slightly concerned that the aircraft is not going to intercept the glide slope. So we're going to find out here shortly whether or not it does. But once we intercept the glide slope, we'll slow to 143 knots. And if it doesn't intercept the glide slope, I'm going to immediately disengage the autopilot, and I'm going to manually control the aircraft while trying to descend and slow to 143 knots without making a complete disastrous mess of it. And I'm looking straight ahead here, and that should be the runway, but boy, I tell you what, it's not looking a lot like I guess you just can't make it out yet. We've got a hefty crosswind, 9 knots. Okay, so it intercepted the glide slope and went to single channel. Okay, let's go ahead and start slowing to 143. Now, well, it says single channel. If I click the other autopilot button over here, what will happen is eventually it'll tell me land 3, which means that it can auto land it. We're not going to do that. I'm going to disconnect the autopilot here in a minute. But with the glide slope intercepted, we can bring the gear down.
Gear down.
We're going to go ahead and go to flaps 10. And we're coming up on our minimum speed for flaps 10 pretty quick, so we'll go to 15 already. And you see she starts to slow down pretty quick. And take her up to 25. Looking good. And one more for flaps 30. And you hear the click there. It's coming into flaps 30. And we are set for the approach. Now, I'm going to let it fly it for just a minute here. There's a little bounce there. Oh, just trying to get myself settled. So I'm going to let it fly it for just a minute here, and then we're going to disconnect the autopilot. So CMD, it should say land 3. I guess it's not going to auto land. Boy, it's hard to make out that runway, isn't it? It's such a lighter color than the taxiway there. When we land, we'll exit and we'll taxi straight back. The terminal is right here, so we'll taxi straight back on this. Anyway, okay, it's saying flare now, so it will auto land, but we're not going to do that. Let's go ahead and kill the autopilot. Okay, and then let me adjust the throttles a little bit here, and let's go ahead and take the auto throttle off as well. There we go, and we're hand flying the aircraft now. So obviously we want to try and maintain that glide slope. I can't see the PAPI lights yet, but we did get just a skosh low there. And that's me already messing with it. I think I need to change that dead zone in my yoke just a little bit, huh? Okay, back on glide slope there. And we're looking pretty good. Nice stable air right now, so we don't have to worry too much about bouncing all over the place. I'm going to try and remember the crosswind has lessened a little bit, so that's nice. So you can see we're kind of drifting to the right just a little bit, but not too bad. Let's start listening for our call outs here. You know, I need to adjust the call outs on this. I'll do that real quick before we complete our quick turn. I'll show you how to do that real fast, because you notice we're not getting any call outs. Yeah, that's interesting. So this is going to be fun. Yeah, not one call out. Oh, flared it, floated it bad. Come on. There we go. First thrust. Still ended up greasing the landing, but boy, we floated it bad. Take this runway here. And as we're exiting, let's go ahead and bring those flaps up. Turn the landing lights off. Taxi lights on. And let's see if I can do it without screwing up the turn here. Turn the APU on. APU's coming on. Bring the speed brakes down. Don't want to get going too fast there. Slip it around this corner here. Alright, so I'm not going to make you sit here and watch the entire taxi. What I'm going to do, let me go ahead and turn this track IR off for just a second here. I'm going to go ahead and get her taxied all the way in. We'll get her parked at a gate, and then we'll bring you back on here. We'll get her shut down, get the ground power hooked up, and start prepping for our quick turn here. Alright, so we'll see you in a minute. Alright, we got us a parking space here. Let's go ahead and start getting things shut down. We'll hop up top here real quick. We can see that the APU is already up and running. So let's go ahead and take advantage of the power that we have from the APU. I should have turned the taxi lights off as I pulled in, and I never turned the runway taxi lights off. I'm sure they're not happy about that. And because we got the APU running, let's go ahead and shut down the engines. Those are coming down right now. We can turn these to the off position, and we can turn these off so that passengers can get up and start doing their thing. And let's bring the jetway over, and let's go ahead and start opening up doors here. So we'll go to the menu page, FS actions, start with ground connections. We need wheel chocks and then ground power, and we'll take care of that in a minute. We don't need the pitot covers on because we're doing a quick turn anyway. Doors, let's open this one and the rear here, and then the cargo doors, and let's request deboarding. Southwest Airlines, of course, and they can start deboarding. Now real quick, I just want to show you, if you go to the menu, go to PMDG setup and aircraft, then equipment, and then you'll see in here you can change a lot of stuff, but the thing that we didn't have, and I already changed it on the way in, but it's right here, altitude callouts. This was off. And that's why we didn't get any call outs. So I turned that on, and then I put on all the call outs just because I like having all of them. So they're all on there now, but that's how you turn them on. You can do a lot of other stuff in here, but we don't have a lot of time to go over that right now. So just keep in mind that, you know, that's, they're offloading now. That's where you do that at. So once again, you go to menu, PMDG setup, aircraft, equipment, and then it's in there, okay? So back to menu for us. We'll leave it on FS actions so we can do doors and all that good stuff. And let's see, let's hook up the ground power now. Ground power on, which means we don't need the APU generator anymore. So we can, no, we want to kick that back. Ground power on, off. Okay. Well, I'm going to shut off the APU. APU off, probe heat can come off, window heat can come off. We can leave the packs on, that's fine for now. We'll turn the APU bleed on so that we don't have to worry about it later. Logo lights can stay on, anti-collision and wing lights can stay on, wheel well can go off, and strobe lights can go off for now. All the landing lights and stuff are off. We can turn off the fuel pumps. I'll probably forget to turn them back on at some point, but it is what it is. And turn the yaw damper off as well. And that has us... let's go ahead and clear that out, and we can turn the auto brakes off as well. Those should have automatically turned off. Turn the flight directors, we can leave those on actually. I'm going to leave flight directors on. And that's it. So they're offloading. So the first thing we need to do, well actually what I'm going to do, I'm going to break away for just a minute. I'm going to pull up my flight plan for the next flight, and then we'll go right into the stuff we need to do for the quick turn so that we can get the airplane back in the air as quickly as possible. Alright, so we took care of a little bit of house cleaning real quick. I forgot to do it on here, but we had to take our ACARS and end the last flight and file the PIREP because that flight's done, so we had to file that one already. You can see I've already gone ahead and loaded the next flight into ACARS, so we'll be going from New Orleans up to Midway. That's flight number 2 for us today. This one's the 737-700. We're still going to be in the 800. I've already set up everything on the flight, so we're ready to start flight. We know it's a different aircraft. That's fine because they're together on the substitution chart, so we're good to go. And ACARS is rocking and rolling. So we're good there. Now, passengers are all unloaded and all that's good to go, but we need to load fuel before we can load the next group of passengers. Now, just so you know, this flight technically is scheduled to leave at 19:30 Zulu, and we're at 17:30 Zulu. But we're just going to do it as a quick turn. But in the real world, if you were flying this schedule, you know, you would have a layover here for a couple hours. We don't have time for that. So our fuel for the next flight is 12,418 pounds. We're going to put that in there. Now, the fuel loads instantly on this aircraft, obviously, so we don't have to worry about waiting on fuel load times or anything like that. So with that being said, let's go ahead and let's request boarding. And it's going to be Southwest, of course. That makes sense. Southwest, Southwest. And let's just hop outside. And let's make sure, as I zoom back here a little bit, that everybody that's rolling up to the aircraft has an open hatch. Because if the door's not open because I turned the little obnoxious warning thing off, it won't tell me that it needs me to open a door for them to do their thing. So they're doing their thing. Now it's going to take a little bit because somewhere out here is a couple of baggage carts. There they are, way over there, taking their sweet time. So we got to wait for them to get all the way over here and load bags anyway. So we've got a little bit of time. We don't need to rush anything. So let's go ahead. Let's get that speed brake out of the way. And we've already got a company route for this next flight. So it's going to be KMSY to KMDW. Where's the W? There it is. And then, as always, 01. Put that in the company route. There she is. Bam. And the flight number on this one's 1376. We'll put that in there. Good to go, and activate it, execute, and then right on to performance initialization. So 0 fuel weight. Again, click it once, click it again, gives it to you right there. You're good to go. Reserves, we set it at 2,000 last time. We'll set it at 2,000 again. 2.0. Cost index, we're going to go 85 on this one. I think we'll be good. And our cruise altitude on this one is going to be 390 again, so that's good. Execute that. N1 limit. We're going to leave it as is. I'm not going to mess with it. Not worried about it. It's not going to be an issue. So roll to the takeoff page. Put our flaps in. Flaps 10. And do our center of gravity. Again, click it once. Click it again. And there you go. And then it gives you your trim. And then remember, it's actually the trim is over because... Oh, wow, it jumped when I did that. You see that? See that jump it did? 4.67. That's going to be pretty close right there. 4.67. Close enough as far as I'm concerned. Good enough for government work, I always like to say. So let's go to the departure page here now. And just like as we departed out of KSTL, on this one, we're not even scheduled to take a... come on, brain function. We're not even scheduled for a SID, a standard instrument departure. We're not even scheduled for one. We're just direct to HRV, which is our first waypoint. So we're going to be taking runway 2, I believe it is. That's the one we came in on, right? Yeah, we came in on runway 2, so we're going to depart on runway 2. Fantastic. Nice little crosswind, should be a good time. But runway 2 is right behind us, so that's good to go. Execute that. Go over the route. Everything's good there. Let's jump to the legs page. So HRV is our first waypoint, then MCB, then it's Juliet 35. There is a step climb in there. We may or may not perform it, but Juliet 35 basically out to SQS, which we got there. Then FAM, Juliet 137 out to SPI. And then our arrival, go to our departure arrival page. And we're not doing our approach yet. We're just putting the arrival in, which is the MOTIF 5. M-O-T-I-F 5. So we're going to execute that, and we're coming off of SPI. Let's see if SPI shows up as a transition. It does. We'll select that as the transition just to make sure everything connects, and then check on our legs page again, and we should see SPI shows up once, and then on to our arrival from there, which of course we'll get that briefing sometime in the air. So we're going to go on all of that. Fuel is loaded. We get the ground connections set up. Let's hop up here and take care of the MCP really quick. So since we're going direct anyway, we'll just take her straight up to 390. And there's 390, and we don't need to arm the auto throttle yet. And we didn't get our V speeds yet, did we? Okay, that's all right. Click on route and then go to takeoff, and there's our V speeds: 129, 130, and 142. So that's actually 1 knot less than what we landed at, which is kind of cool. So 142 is our V2 speed. That's what we want to put in there. And then our runway heading. Let me jump over here real quick. I know the thing's going to go quiet. That's all right. There's what I'm looking for. Our runway heading should be 016, right? Yep, 016. That's actually kind of nice. When you do this quick turn, you know, we landed on runway 2. We're departing on runway 2. So a lot of stuff is going to stay pretty much the same. That makes it pretty easy. So flip that bad boy to RTO. It's not our first flight, so I don't think we don't really need to test the ground proximity warning. We don't need to test the TCAS system. We don't need to test the fire. You know what? Let's test the fire anyway, and I'll tell you why. Because I was, you know, swimming around like a fool trying to find it. There's our fire test right there, and then these are just lights tests. So, so yeah, just to refresh in my mind where it's at, so that maybe I won't forget again in the future. And that's pretty much it. Let's go ahead and take a look at our checklist here. We're not doing the APU start. Let's take a look at the overhead. Again, I don't remember what I named the checklist for this, but on here, it's on this one I have right now. It's called overhead setup. So flight control panel is good. Yaw damper, I'm not sure if we turned. I think we turned it off when we pulled in. We did. Let's flip it on. Fuel systems panel is checked and good. Fuel pumps on as required. Let's go ahead and just flip these 4 on. Those are the 4 we're going to need again, so we should be good on those. Let's see. Window heat can come on. All of these. Probe heat stays off for now. Anti-ice is off. Hydraulics panel check. We're good on that. And both A and B systems are on, so we're good there. Let's see. Left and right packs both on auto, and isolation valve is open. That's these right there, so put the packs on auto. And let's see, pressurization panel set for cruise. It's going to be 390 again. And Chicago is at 4 feet, so we could either do 50 or we could do 0. Let's just do 0. That's obviously closer. Exterior lighting's good, and the ignition, we'll put that back on both, and we'll be good to go there. FMC initialization, that whole thing's done. I'm not even going to go down a checklist. We've covered everything in initializing the FMC. So jumping down to the MCP, making sure we didn't miss anything here. Where are we at? Course set if needed. We've got it set for the runway heading. Flight directors are both on. Auto throttle is off. Heading is set for the runway heading. Altitude is set for our first altitude, which in our case is all the way up to 390. The autopilots are off. No flags on the PFD. The auto brake is set to RTO. Engine instruments, there's nothing to check on them right now because they're off. We're not doing anything with the comm radios. Transponder is set to standby. A little itch in my nose there. What else? Speed brake is down. Thrust levers are at idle. Engine start levers are in the cutoff position, and stabilizer trim is set. That takes care of all of our pre-flight checks. That means we're actually ready for push and start. So let's hop out here. And they are done loading bags, it looks like. It's it kind of stinks that it always hops out in that view right under the wing. It's pretty hard to see. But anyway, they're done loading bags. So that's good. So let's go ahead and close up the doors. Close the aft entry. Forward door. Let's get rid of the jetway. I had to actually pull the plane back a little bit too in order for the jetway to connect. That was kind of weird. Close the cargo doors there. Return. Fuel's done. Payload's done. Doors are done. Ground connections. Okay, so we need to fire up the APU now before we can push back, right? So let's go ahead and do that, and that's real simple. Just click it, left click once, left click twice, and then we just got to wait for it to spin all the way up, exhaust gas temperature, and then it comes back down when it gets around 4. We'll be able to transfer power from the APU generator. Let's go ahead and make sure the APU bleed is on. And let's see, we can go ahead and we can get a couple things prepped for our push and start here. I'm not going to turn off the packs yet, but I'll probably forget. In fact, I almost guarantee I'll forget. Fuel pumps are already set. Park and brake will release that, obviously, when we push back. Yeah, there's nothing to do but just wait here for a minute. You know what I didn't do, though, is I didn't turn those fasten seatbelts and chimes on auto. I should just leave those on auto, right? Okay. Just kind of waiting here. You'll know when it's ready to go. This little light pops on here. There we go. So click once, click twice, and now we can turn the ground power off. We can come down here and disconnect the ground power. We can disconnect the wheel chocks, and now we can put this one where we want it to be, back on that progress page on the FMC. We're good to go. We're good to go there. Put that on the legs page. And we don't need that. That's good where it's at. I'm happy with where it's at. Yep, we're good to go. We could, I guess, technically turn the TCAS on. It's a little later. Some checklists have it later, some have it earlier, but we can turn it on right here. So TCAS is on now, and we're ready for push and start. So let's go ahead and get ground services up here. Prepare for pushback and departure. We need nose to go left. Tail to go right. We don't want to start beforehand. Okay, so he's not coming over here. So it did this to me last time. Watch this. Okay, so you see the stairs are still sitting there, and I reopened the doors and all that, and it didn't do squat. Nothing would work. So I don't know why it's doing that, but if I just reset position, come on. There we go. And now we'll prepare for pushback and departure. Southwest Airlines, it'll pop everything back out here. That's sitting in the wing because that makes perfect sense. Nose left, tail right. We don't want to start. And now see, he's pulling out right away. So I don't know why it's doing that. It's glitching on me. Probably have to reinstall it just like you do every other thing you have for FSX has to be reinstalled like 1,000 times. It's a little ridiculous, but it is what it is. So let's let him start. He'll start talking here in a second. And yeah, there's nothing else to do at the moment, so I'm just going to break away for a minute while he does his thing, and then I'll be back when he's ready to push. Alright, so they got everything done. He's telling me to release the parking brakes. There we go. You can see A-Cars is up and running again, so we're good to go on that. which means we can jump right into starting engine number 2. Hop up top here. We're going to roll it left to ground. Oh, I forgot to turn the packs off. Told you I would. Packs off. Bleeds are on. We're good there. Left to ground. I knew I'd forget to do that. I almost always forget it. Okay, there's the N2 coming up right now, in case you can't see it. There it is. Again, we're waiting until it gets past 25. Once it reaches 25 and goes beyond, we can go ahead and introduce fuel into the system. There's 25 right there. Fuel lever coming up. And the engine shall fire. And while that's starting up, you will note that our runway is literally, you can't see it yet, but it's like, it's right there. Right over there. Hey, at least he's walking. His legs are actually moving. Sometimes his legs don't even move. They should hopefully push us back far enough here so that we can pull, we can take an immediate left when we get to go. Anyway, there's engine 2 running. Go over here to ground for engine number 1. Watching the N2 down here.
Set parking brake.
Really? He didn't pull it, like, he really put us in a crummy spot right now. Directly behind us is where we need to go. That's retarded. I'm starting to really dislike GSX. We're going to have to pull up here and flip a UE. Are we at 25 yet? Yes, we are. We're going to have to like pull straight ahead and flip a UE here and come back around. That's because literally directly behind us is our entrance to the runway, and this is where GSX decides to put us. Good job, GSX. Good job. Go flaps 10. We already got we're already set to RTO on the auto brakes. All right. Let's take care of a little bit of business here. So these guys can. Okay, let's try it again. There we go. There we go. APU can go off at this point. Taxi light can come on. I'm just going to turn a strobe light on right now. I don't want to mess with it later. Probe heat can go on. Packs can go back to auto. APU bleed can go off. And I think that's everything. Let's take a look at our checklist here really quick. The after start checklist. Engine generators are on. Probe heat is on. Anti-ice, we don't need it right now. Engine bleeds are on. Packs are on auto. Isolation valve is on auto. APU bleed is off. APU switch is, it says as required, but it's off. External lights as required. Master caution light is off, and then we need to hit the recall button. So master caution's off. There's recall on this side. Nothing coming up. And I think you have to hit it both sides. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but now because we're I forgot to arm those two earlier. Look, it's doing the thing with the LNAV again. It's not going to arm until we're in the air. I'm going to go ahead and arm the auto throttle now, just because we're going to swing up around the corner here. Little jump. There we go. Wow, that was kind of weird. Let's take the parking brake off. Let's pull her up here and see if we can get her swung around relatively easily. But she gets moving, doesn't she? Now, of course, I don't want to smack the wingtips on those stairs, even though the stairs were parked inside the wing here a couple minutes ago. See, there's the runway entrance right there. That's ridiculous, right? Wow, look at that crazy, look at what it wants us to do. Is that where that first waypoint's at? I hate when that hand is showing up there. Oh, I sit a little farther back in this aircraft for some reason. I really kind of need to do it in all of them. But when you're taxiing around and stuff, that's kind of a pain in the butt. Okay, yeah, that's, so HRV's like behind us. I should have looked at that. That's stupid. So we're gonna go straight to MCB, just like that. We'll execute it. We don't need to go to HRV. That's retarded. I'll bet it lets us do LNAV now. Nope, still won't let us do LNAV. It does not like letting us do LNAV on the ground, does it? Okay, anyway, let me turn track IR off before you get dizzy there. Let's go ahead and take care of our before takeoff stuff and checklist. Those can come on, that can come off. Strobes are already set on. I've already turned the auto throttle on. So let's go ahead and take care of the before takeoff checklist. Master caution light is off. Hit the recalls again. Nothing on either of those. Flight controls, supposed to check free and correct. Full up, full down. We could look outside and do this and make sure that everything's moving the way it's supposed to, but you wouldn't be able to do that in the real aircraft, so all I can do is make sure that my stuff is working right. Unless I'm missing something. Maybe I'm missing something and there is a way to actually view these. I wanted to test all the lights real quick. A lot of lights, huh? Okay, there we go. Anyway, so if there is, let me know, but I don't know what the option is to show the flight controls on here. I'm probably missing something knowing me. What else we got over here? Trim is checked and set. Flight directors are on. Takeoff briefing is already completed. Again, no SID for this one. We have takeoff clearance. Strobe lights are on. Wing lights are on. Landing lights are on. Runway turn-off lights are on. Engine start switches need to go to continuous. Right-click them each once and you should be good to go. Auto throttle is armed and transponders on TARA, and while we're at it, let's click on the traffic button in the middle there, and we are ready to rock and roll. So, little jump, there we go, and let's get her on the runway and let's get rolling. Good times, right? So now because of the way because we got rid of that other waypoint, basically we pull onto the runway, we take off and make an immediate left. So, and this is a pretty short runway, so we're going to take advantage of the space that's available to us. Swing her around here, and there's no way I line that up center, but let's go ahead and let's just roll into this takeoff here, shall we? It's coming up, stabilizing, and toga. Hands on the throttles in case we need to reject the takeoff. Try and keep her centered here. Try and keep her centered. Little crosswind. There's 80 knots. Coming up on V1.
V1.
Hands off throttle. There's rotate. Pull the stick back. Follow the flight director. She'll jump up quick. Bring the nose up. Positive rate of climb. Let's go ahead and get that gear coming up. Leave the flaps right where they're at for the moment.
Gear up.
Boy, it really wants you to climb initially, doesn't it? I mean, that is seriously, look at that. Woo, that'd make passengers nervous. Heck, that makes me nervous, and it's a sim. Now it wants you to bring it back down, though. See that? I think that's a little wonky. Wonky's my word now. We're going to call it a little wonky. Just a little above the flight director. There we go. So it hasn't actually directed us to turn yet, which is kind of interesting, to be honest with you. Love the water. It's beautiful, isn't it? Getting pretty good. Speed's coming up. We want to get a little higher above flaps 5. Okay, go ahead and move flaps to 5 now. I don't know why she wants to keep drifting off to the left there, but let's see if it'll let us arm the LNAV now that we're airborne. Yes, it does. Let's go ahead and kick it in there. Bam. Autopilot. Track IR coming off. Starting to make the turn. We are ready to go ahead and start bringing flaps all the way up. Yep, we're looking good. Little bit of turbulence coming out of there. Flaps coming all the way up. Let's go ahead and turn the auto brakes off at this point. Turn the landing gear off. I've gotten yelled at for that a bunch of times by you guys for not turning the landing gear thing off. So, my bad. And looking pretty good here as we're going into the climb. So, let's take care of our after takeoff checklist. Positive rate of climb has already been established and the gear is up. Climb speed is established as V2 plus 20. We're good to go there. Flaps have been retracted fully on schedule, so we're good on that. Gear has been turned off, auto brakes are turned off, and engine starters, these guys, can be turned off as well. And that's basically going to take us into our climb checklist, but not until we get above 10,000 feet. But for the sake of saving some time, and because we're going to do the elevator music after we take off on the next leg, I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to cut away from the video here. And I will see you guys just before top of descent. I'll take care of the rest of the climb check. It's just turning landing lights off and seatbelt signs, all that stuff once you cross 10,000. So I'll take care of that stuff. Then I'll see you guys just before top of descent, and we will we'll prepare for our landing in midway, and then one more turn to finish up this day's run. So I'll see you guys here in a little bit. Alright, coming into midway, we're going to be taking the Motif 5 arrival, and we're coming in from the Spinner VOR way down here, SPI, and it's 112.7 nautical miles from where this chart begins, so it's out there a ways. But we'll follow that down the 037 degree radial all the way down here to, oh, a little hiccup there, Yuri. Expect 17,000 feet for jets, so we'll probably plan to be right in that area. From there up to Pontiac VOR or PNT, we'll bang a left. I get the hiccups, keep trying to sneak in on me here. Continuing down, we can get down to 5,000 feet. We're not going to drop that low in there though, I don't think. Down to Motif, expecting 10,000 feet there. Yes, we won't be at 5,000 feet here. That's our minimum anyway. And then continuing basically on that heading down to Minok. That's an interesting name. Expecting 6,000 there, and then Joliet, not Juliet, Joliet VOR, and then from there it's vectors. So again, depending on which runway we're going to be landing on, which we'll discover during our approach briefing, that will determine where we go with our vectors, whether we bang right down here or head straight on down and in from here. ATIS is on 132.750, approach control on 128.200. No major obstacles to worry about, but should be lots of traffic in the area because Chicago is quite busy. So yeah, good times. All right, let's do it.
Oh, hi, my name's Ashley. I'm Captain Mac's daughter. I'm 16, just in case you didn't know that. Anyway, so he was being really mean to me and telling me that I couldn't get a hamster. I don't know why. He was just being mean since I'm his favorite. It was kind of weird. Anyway, he did say that if I got your guys' like vote, he would let me get a hamster if you guys said I could. So basically, if you want to be cool, just say that I should get one, and then I can get a hamster, and then like that would just be cool. I mean, it doesn't really benefit you guys, but it benefits me. And so, I mean, if you guys could go in and just comment that at...
What are you doing on my headset? Get off of it.
No!
Alright, so as you can see, we're just about 40 miles from top of descent, and we'll probably have some background noise from Ashley because she's throwing a fit in my office right now. Yay me. Anyway, let's see. Coming up on descent here, so we're going to breach... Silence, child. We're going to brief the approach. We're not going to breach the approach. We're going to brief the approach right after we start the descent. And Ashley's been kind enough to do the approach briefing for us. So that should be a good time, despite the fact that apparently you've already heard from her. So anyway, getting prepared for the descent here, we need to go ahead and change our altitude on the MCP. And you'll see during the approach briefing we need to go all the way down to 1,500 feet. And I don't recall off the top of my head if we had any altitude restrictions during the arrival, because I had to pause this thing for a little while. So if there's any altitude restrictions, they should already be programmed into the FMC. Once again, I know that's not the proper way to do it. But yeah, no, it's just for the approach, which I've already put in there. We're going to be taking runway 22, you'll see when we do that briefing, and that is because the wind is 234 at 11 knots. So, good times, and don't mind the noise in the background, ladies. Don't look at me in that tone of voice. It smells a funny color. My wife just told me I was being rude because I asked him to stop talking while I'm recording. You see what I put up with here, people? You see what I put up with? This is my life. Okay? This is my life. Anyway, about, hold on. Oh yeah, absolutely, that's way better. Go ahead and get that right now. My wife was showing me a Christmas present she wanted. Anyway, okay, so back to the video. Thank you very much. Shut up. I was telling my daughter to shut up, not my wife. So during the descent, we're going to monitor our speed. Obviously, when we hit transition altitude, we're going to need to change to, let me look at the weather real quick, 3028, and that is what I have written down, so fantastic. So we'll go to 3028, and then of course when we go below 10,000 feet, make sure the seatbelt signs are on, and make sure landing lights are on, because I tend to forget that a lot. So, and I think that's pretty much it. we've got everything prepped inside the FMC. I'll just show you here real quick. Again, we'll be doing the approach briefing shortly, but to set up the approach, you go in here, click on your arrival for KMDW. It's not funny. It's kind of funny. You're laughing at my weather? They're laughing at my weather. Anyway, stop touching me. Anyway, runway 22 left is what we're taking, and we're going on the Motif 5 arrival. So we don't need to change anything now. I've already gone ahead and put it in there. And then don't forget, we'll need to put in our landing speed, and it's going to be a short runway, so we'll be landing full flaps on this one for sure. And I'm just trying to kill a minute here until we actually hit top of descent so that we can get started. So what is it that you want? No. Anyway. You know what? Wait until I descend. She doesn't know. Well, you should know what it means. What does descend mean, Ashley? Yeah, exactly. My children are animals. What do you mean what it means in plain terms? In plain terms, it means to go down. Ashley, there's no such thing as a speedometer. It's called a speedometer. Don't mind my children. They're just retarded. Okay. Wow, that was crazy. Look at what just happened here. So the FMC speed just switched to 330 knots. Grab something there. 330 knots, which is starting to speed up, but we haven't actually quite hit top of descent yet, which is, that could actually be a problem. We're 5 miles out. We're going to overspeed is what's going to happen. So let me do this. Let me scroll this way down here. There we go. Slow down. There it goes. Okay, it's starting to slow down. I just want to actually start the descent first. So what's going on is the aircraft is programmed to descend at 330 knots. Okay, not a big deal. That's fine. That's probably because we have the brain doesn't want to work now. Okay, now I got to pull it up because I can't think of what it is. Thunder performance. The cost index, there we go, that's what I was looking for, cost index, which we're starting the descent now, by the way. So the cost index being up as high as it is, and the descent path is more than achievable, thank you very much. With the cost index being as high as it is, holy cow, maybe it's not achievable, look at that. We are 12,000 feet above where we need to be. That's alright, I have a solution for that. We call it speed brakes. So with the cost index being as high as it is, the aircraft was starting to speed up in preparation for the descent, I guess. I don't know. That was kind of weird, actually, that it did that. But anyway, we've got full speed brakes out at this point because we're on VNAV speed. Alright, so what's going to happen is, since that's trying to slow the aircraft, it's going to descend at a much higher rate to try and maintain that speed, which is going to allow us to make up that 12,000. Why are we 12,000 feet above where we need to be? That's just absolutely ludicrous. But anyway, so I'm going to break away for now. And I'll be back in time for, I'll be back in time for the approach. We're going to do the approach briefing here in just a minute, and then I'll be back in time for the approach itself.
RNAV 22 left is our approach. We're coming in at steer at 3,000 feet, then tack, then sail, then keel, then jib, then yacht, then runway 22 left. Yeah. Makes sense, doesn't it? Here's our profile view. 1500 a yacht. Descending from there to the runway. 1,770 meters of runway, 3-degree glide slope, Pappy lights on the right hand side.
Does that look like the left or the right?
Oh, it's a picture. Missed approach. Climb at 228 degrees until 1,300 feet. Make a left turn. direct to EON. I'm at 2,600 feet. That looks like this. Any questions?
Alright, as you can see here, we're actually just about to cross over steer, and we'll start making our left-hand turn back to tact. And I don't know why this airplane's flying so close to me. He is at minus 100, now he's at the same altitude. Tell me he's going to be above me here in a second. Okay, he's going to be above, he's going to go like right over the top of us here. I don't know if we'll see him or not, but let's see. It's not giving us any direction actually. Normally it tells you climb or descend or something like that. I don't know where he's at, except what this tells me here. He's almost right over the top of us, so we're not going to see him. But anyway, we're swinging around here back towards tact. We've already gone ahead and selected our approach reference, or our VREF, which is full flaps, 130 knots. As you saw from the approach briefing, though it was a little bit on the rusty side, it's a very short runway. So it is an RNAV approach, so we're just going to let the aircraft fly the waypoints until we get down to 1,500 feet, and then we'll decide where to take over from there. Where is this guy? He's still almost right over us. He's going to land on this, try and land on this runway while we're landing on it. Watch. Let's hop outside and see if we can see him. Boy, that's bouncing around a lot, isn't it? My wife's getting all excited over here. She thinks I'm going to crash into another airplane. I don't see him anywhere. Should be right above us, but anyway, we're not going to sit there and look around for him. He's out there somewhere. He's 1,300 feet above us now. I don't know what he's doing up there. It's like he's flying in circles or something. Anyway, we're down at 180 knots here. We need to land at 130 knots. So we're obviously going to have to slow down a good bit more here. We've got flaps set to 5. Let's go ahead and let's see, how far out are we? We're still a little ways out. Let's go ahead and fly it like this for a minute. It's going to keep it from taking any longer than it has to. It's actually quite slow at 180 knots. So maybe I came on just a wee bit early here. We can start the approach checklist, since I'll probably forget to do the rest of it anyway. But we are going to need auto brakes. Let's put some auto brakes in there real quick. There's 2,500 foot call. Okay, approach checklist. The approach has been briefed. We don't need to set nav radios. We're supposed to intercept the approach at 180 knots. We'll probably intercept a little slower because of the way this comes in. It looks like it comes in like that because of the city over here. That's my guess. Let's see. Where are we at? Auto spoilers need to be armed. They are now armed. I just use a key combination for that. And then engine start switches need to go to continuous. Let's just jump up so we can see that clearly. There we go, continuous. It almost looked like they went to flight mode, didn't it? And then the approach, final approach fix is when gear needs to go down, and that is technically at yacht, which is quite a ways out ahead of us. We'll probably bring the gear down a little bit before that. You can see here, yacht's not even on the screen when I zoom it down a little bit. It's right up here. So we're actually going to go ahead and start slowing down. Let's bring it down to 160. And what's the last part here? So then the rest of it is really the landing checklist, which is gear down, flap set, VREF plus 5. And our VREF again is 130 knots, so we're going to want to get down to 135. And we're almost down to our 1,500 feet, so that's good. Let's go ahead and bring in the next flap setting. And bring in one more, because you can see that that speed otherwise would put us pretty much right on top of it. We can go ahead and bring the gear down now. This will be just fine.
Gear down.
Maybe just a little far out, but that's okay. Just waiting for the gear to all come down and lock. There's 3 green, so we're good on the gear. Start a gentle turn here. So from yacht to the runway is not very far. So let's go ahead and set our course for 228. Not that we're using the VOR, but we could set real quick. We could set the EON VOR, which is 113.2. I didn't really think of that, to be honest with you. Let's do that real quick. Here we go, 113.2, just in case we need it. And we can set our final approach heading to 228 as well. Could have easily gone the other way, right? There we go. And we're looking for the runway now. We'll put the track IR on here in just a minute. Everything looks pretty much good to go. We just need to finish Finish going through our flaps here. We can go ahead and bring the next setting of flaps in, and we can bring the speed down to 145. That leaves us only 10 knots to go to get to our VREF speed. There's the airport right over here. It's gonna turn in a little tight, so we're probably gonna be taking control of the aircraft here as we're turning, which is gonna be a little weird, but matter of fact, let's do this. Bring this down to 135. Go ahead and bring those full flaps in now. We're going to let the auto throttle do its thing. I think we're a little high here, to be honest with you. But it says 1500 at yacht, so I guess we're not a little high. You know me, always high on approach. I guess that joke's probably won't run its course by now, but I still think it's funny. And I'm a funny guy. Don't look at me like that, dear. My wife's giving me weird looks. Oh, good times. Remember, we're landing on 22 left, which can be this guy over here. We are spot on glide slope right now. This is Chicago, so it's going to be a little bit choppy in here. There's nothing I can really do about that. There's the track IR coming on. And let's go ahead and take the autopilot off. There we go. And she tries to climb on me right away. Alright. And throttles. Take the auto throttle off here in a minute as well. Looking pretty good here so far. Let's go ahead and kill that auto throttle there. Alright, looking good. Little chop there. Not too bad. Speed's looking pretty good. We're just a tiny bit above where we want to be. Glide slope's good. Straighten her out just a little bit. Probably turn just a little sharp there. Pull that throttle back a little bit more. And that's going to line her up pretty nice, actually. Let's listen for our call-outs. We should start getting them here pretty soon now that I have them turned on.
1,000.
Want to make sure we keep an eye on that rate of descent there. It is a pretty, well, I mean, it's a normal rate of descent, but it feels like it should be a lot faster, probably because the runway is so short. Just keep sliding her around. That wind's coming almost dead down the runway now. Get just a tiny bit of crosswind off the right side there. Not much, though. Got just a little fast. Glide slope's looking good so far. Oh, what was that? A little bit of wind out there.
500. 400.
Just a little shaky, huh?
300.
Spot on, though. Good hand flying, if I do say so myself.
200.
You hear all the giggling from the teenagers.
50. 40. 30. 20. 10.
Little rough on the landing there. Not too terrible. We're minus 200 feet on the landing. That's not horrid, but maybe just a touch bumpy. At least for us it is. Alright, let's bring her to a stop here real quick. And let's get the track IR off real fast. Let's take care of a couple of cleanup items here. We want to go ahead and make sure that our spoilers are down. Bring those flaps all the way up. We turn the taxi lights on, runway turn off, and landing lights can go off. And we want to go ahead and we want to start our APU. Engine start switches can go to the off position. We don't need those at the moment. Everything else should pretty much stay at it as it is. Let's take care of our after landing checklist. Speed brake lever is up, flaps are up, probe heat can go off. I'm not really sure why we turn it off as soon as we land, but that's alright. Engine start switches are off, landing lights are off, taxi lights are on, strobe lights can go off. So those guys right there. Flight directors can go off. 1 and 2. Transponder goes to standby. There she is, standby. And the APU's already been started. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go ahead and start taxiing this bad boy in. And you'll see a little more jumping around here as I move my head around. I'm going to taxi this airplane in, get her parked, and we will go through the shutdown checklist, get the ground power hooked up, and get started on our next quick turn. So I'll see you guys here in just a second for you. Alright, we got her here on the ground. Let's go ahead and take care of this shutdown checklist real quick. The brakes are on, start levers need to go to the cutoff position, but before we do that I actually want to make sure that the APU is powering the aircraft. That way we don't lose all the data that we've got in there. We don't have to realign our IRS or anything like that. Now we can go ahead and shut off the engines. 1 and 2. And I'll just use the Shift E to open the door there. There's the main door opening, and then Control J. I guess technically you don't open the door until the jetway's over there. But anyway, so now we've got the jetway lining up over there. Let's go ahead and turn. I don't know why auto brakes weren't turned off. I guess I messed up there. Supposed to turn off the auto brakes. Anyway, let's see. Ground power comes next. So let's pop this guy right up here. It's a lot easier to see. We know VNav's disconnected. Go to menu, FS actions, ground connections, set the wheel chocks, connect the ground power. We don't need pitot covers on there yet, but is that jetway up there yet? Nope, not quite yet. Once it's up there, we'll go ahead and start offloading passengers as well. So ground power now, so let's go ahead and put ground power on. There we go. We can send both of these back, I guess. Maybe not. I don't know. We can turn the APU off. No point in burning fuel. Oh, I guess those will stay on because we're on ground power. I could have turned the taxi light off. Logo light, we'll leave that on for now. Anti-collision, we'll leave that on as well. Wheel wells can come off. That's good. Packs are all in a good spot. Pitot heat's fine as it is. Let's turn off the window heats. What else? This thing moves the wrong way when it's like this. We could, we'll leave the hydraulic pumps as they are. I think we're pretty much good to go. Let's go ahead and turn the fasten seatbelt signs off. And request deboarding. It's not going to give us an option of who. That's just fine. Maybe. Oh, there we go. I thought it was frozen there for a second. And let's go ahead and go to our doors. So that one's already open. Aft entry can go open here. Next page we'll go cargo doors both open. And what else we got for our shutdown checklist? Doors and stairs open. Fuel pumps off. Let's turn those off real quick. I don't know if it really matters whether they're on or off, but anyway, there they go. Fuel pumps are off. Signs are off. Window heat is off. Probe heat is off. Hydraulics are good. Isolation valve, it says to close it. Not really sure why. Recirculation fan is supposed to be on auto. That's these two here. They are. External lighting off. Emergency exit lights, those are fine. Battery doesn't need to go off, nor does ground power because we're not shutting all the way down. So I got to get a couple things together to start the next flight. So I'm going to go ahead and pause this here. We're going to come back in. This is, of course, the view you're going to see, and then we're going to go through our quick turn here. So give me just a couple minutes, a few seconds for you. Alright, we got all the passengers off the aircraft. First thing we want to take care of is we want to go ahead and do our refueling here. We want to refuel. There's a cough for you. We want to refuel while the passengers are off the aircraft. That just makes sense. So for our next and final leg of this first day, we need 8,152 pounds of fuel. So I'm going to go ahead and just put in 8,500. A little bit extra in case we burn it. We probably won't, but actually, you know what? I'm not going to. Let's do this. 8152, we're going to go 8,200. How's that? Going to keep it right on the line there. So there we go, 8,200 pounds. Of course, it fuels up instantly. Unlike the Aerosoft Airbus, you can either do it instant or let it take time. But there we go. We've got our 8,200 pounds of fuel. We're good on that. Which means, let's go back to ground. Nope, not there. There we go. Doors page, and let's go ahead and request boarding. And it's not going to ask us who we want again, so that's fine. Let's get this out of our way here. Let's hop over here to, let's see, we need to go performance page, right? Yep, performance page. So 0 fuel weight first, There it is. Click it twice and you're good to go. Let's see, what's our cruise altitude on this one? Flight level 340. I don't know why I decided to do that next, but there we go, 340. Good to go on that. Reserve is going to be 2,000 pounds again. Should be fine on that. And the cost index is going to be 85 again. We're going to be moving quick. That's how Southwest does it anyway. N1 limit. We're going to be taking runway 22 left on our departure, which, as you saw, was a short runway. So we're going to take advantage of full thrust on this one anyway. Going to our takeoff, we're going to do flaps 10. I don't know why I'm coughing all of a sudden. Flaps 10, center of gravity is 22.7, and that puts us at 4.71. So we need to bring that down, way down. We had it trimmed all the way up for our landing there. And I'm going to call that good right about there. Alright. And what comes next? We need to take care of our departure, don't we? Yep. So, oh, we didn't even put in the flight plan yet. Dirt. Go to index, ident, position initialization. No, that I'm looking for the route page, but I can't seem to get my act together here. Company route's what we're looking for. We're going KMDW. My apologies. I'm tired. I'm very tired. KMDW to KSTL, back to home base, and it'll be 01 again. Put that in there. Activate it. Execute that, and the flight number is 1958. I said 1. There we go, 1958. Put that in there, and now to our takeoff page, and we can click departure here. And we're going, actually, there's not going to be a SID on this one either. We're going direct to ORD, which actually I think is a little bit odd because I think ORD is like right on top of the airport. But we'll see. We'll see what it looks like here in just a minute. But we are going to take runway 22 left. So let's go ahead and put that in there. And again, we're not using a SID, so we're not worried about that right now. Execute that and then jump back over. Let's jump to our legs page. So direct to ORD. If we look on here, let's back up a little bit here so that we can actually see what we're doing. Put this on the plan, right? Move it over here a little bit, and then we can step through it. So you can see ORD right there. If we zoom out, yeah, like that's kind of odd, right? Why would we want to go to ORD when our next waypoint's over here? Now, ATC might direct us to do that for traffic separation or whatever, but because we're not using ATC, we're going to go direct to JOT instead, and that's pretty much a straight out departure for us. So that makes a lot more sense anyway. And as we zoom down here, it's not going to show us now, of course, but if we go back to the map, you can see that's almost straight out, so we should be good to go there. Alright, shrink that back down. While we're over here, let's go ahead and take care of our arrival because it's not very far out. I have not chosen the approach yet, and that's alright. Let me move this out of my way. It's in my way now. But we are going to take the Vandalia 8 arrival, or the VLA 8. So let's go ahead and select that. It's going to be one of the last ones. There it is, VLA 8. VLA 8. Is there more than one of those? There's a bunch of them. Oh, it looks like it depends on what runway you're landing on. So I'm going to have to figure out the runway first. Okay. That's what we have active sky for. We do need to change the flight plan here anyway, so let's go ahead and do that real quick. Off to KSTL, and then what I want to do is go to conditions, and I found an easier way to do this. I can go to favorites and destination. So we know our weather for KMDW on the way out because it's not going to change in the next few minutes. We're going to be out of here pretty quick, actually. So we're looking at 092 and 4 knots. So that's gonna. I don't know why I wrote KTS on there. I know what that is, but 30. Forgive me. I'm tired. I'm getting delirious. So let's just check. So in an hour, it's going to be the same. In 2 hours, it's going to be the same. In 3 hours, it's expected to be the same. So we're good to go. We're going to be there within 3 hours, and it shouldn't be a problem. So that being said, that's going to put us on. I actually have to, you know what, I'm going to have to pull up my charts over here. So I'm just going to go ahead and pause the video for a second. I'm going to come right back. I'm not going to move this view or anything. I'm going to pause the video for just a second. Actually, I might change the view. Let's just do this, because it's going to change when I type in KSTL. Let me go pull up the charts, figure out which runway we're going to be landing on, and then we'll come back in here and we'll finish getting this set up. Alright, like 5 minutes for me and 2 seconds for you. Easy days, right? Okay, so we are going to be taking the ILS runway 6, and you'll get the approach briefing at the appropriate time. So, that being said, I didn't even need to pop that up, did I? So we want to take VLA 8.06, and then we'll be taking ILS 06. Transition looks like... I don't think we need to transition at FTZ. I suppose we could. Let me look at my arrival over here. So we're coming in VLA. Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out. You know what? We're not going to do the transition on this one. We'll just manually get we'll put everything together the way we want it. It won't be a problem. So SPI, and then it's going to be to Shad. Let me see where that's at over here real quick. Shad. Why is it Shad? Where's Shad at? I don't even see Shad on here. What the heck? Shad, then Vectors, then Wood. And then Tony. Okay, so there's NCO and FTZ, but there's no Shad on here. What the heck? This thing's on its own program, I swear. Is there Shad on this one? No. The only place Shad exists, apparently, is in the FMC here. So, good times. Or I'll end up finding it later. But for now, if I have to change it, I will. Let's just connect SPI and Shad. That's fine, I suppose. Technically, it should go from SPI to Lich. So, let's put that in there. LITCH. That should go probably before Shad, maybe. And then after Lich is supposed to be Muzzle, MUZUL. So MUZUL. That'll go there. And then from there it goes to Shad. Now I found Shad finally. So then to Shad. And then Vectors. Okay. And then from there, what we could do is instead of doing Vectors, we could go to... Let's go ahead and let's delete that. Invalid delete, huh? Let's see if it'll... I don't know if it's going to let us. Let's just try typing it in. NCO, E-N-C-O-E. You're going to see all of these waypoints when we do the approach briefing. Put that there, and then would come next. There we go. Just like that. That's what I want right there. Okay, that takes care of all of that. Let's see. So we need to go to route, back to our takeoff page. Let's put our wind in there. The runway is dry, so we're good there. So 092 at 4 knots. So 092/4. And that goes right here. And then now we can go over here and do our V speeds. There's our V speeds. We're good to go on that. Legs page. And let's go ahead and set this bad boy up. We said we're going up to 340. We can take her straight away. There we go, 340. We can turn the flight directors on. We'll leave the auto throttle off for now. And then, why am I coughing so much all of a sudden? Goodness. We don't want initial reference. We want takeoff page 140 is our V2 speed. There we go, there's that. Arm the VNAV. It won't do the LNAV again. We can go ahead and put the spoilers back down now that the handle's no longer in our way. And back to the front of our checklist here, and let's see what we got. Got to get everything organized here. Okay. Going up to the overhead panel. The yaw damper is on. Probe heat can go on at this point. Fuel pumps can all come on. Now I got the hiccups. All of that's good. Recirc fans are on auto. Window heat can go on. Oh, why do I have the hiccups now? Goodness. Anti-ice off. System A and B switches are on. That's for this guy right here. And left pack auto. Isolation valve open. Put that on open. APU bleed can come on because we're going to be needing that in a minute. Let's go ahead and start the APU for when we push back here. because we are about ready to push back. FMC initialization is done. I'm not going to read through all of those. Let's go ahead and read through our MCP setup checklist here. I forget what I named it for what you're going to have popping up here. But anyway, course set if needed. We don't need to set the course, but this is going to be our course and our heading for departure because that was a runway we landed on. Flight directors are on, auto throttle is off, heading is set to runway heading, altitude is set for the initial clearance, we're good on that, autopilots are off, no flags on the PFD, auto brake is set to RTO, there it goes. Check engine instruments, we don't need to do anything with the radios, but transponders set and then off, which is actually that one right there. Speed brake is down, thrust levers are idle, engine start levers are in cutoff, and stabilizer trim is set. So let's go ahead and push or send the gate back. It didn't say anything about recall, did it? Or did I just overlook it? Well, there's the recall. So it's still giving us electric. Not sure why. I should know why, but I don't. It's still giving us the electric because probably because we're on ground power. That's the only thing I can think of. APU should be good now, so let's send it over from the APU. There we go. Now we can turn ground power off. Do we still get electric when we do that? Yeah, we do. So see how it just stays on, right? And then we've got a couple more over there, but we don't have the engines running yet, so I suppose that makes sense. Let's go ahead and close the doors. Close, 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 and close. I'm going to reset. There we go. The, you know what it is. GSX. Reset GSX because it's been giving me problems. Ground connections, we can go ahead and disconnect the ground power. Let's make sure that our brakes are set, which they are. Now, what I haven't done yet, I'm going to do it off to the side over here really quick, is I have not ended the flight. I completely forgot to end the flight and file the PIREP. So PIREP's being filed now. Okay. So now ACARS is shut down now. And then now I highly recommend anytime you're doing quick turns like this that you always shut down ACARS in between flights. So I've got ACARS shut down. I'm going to fire it back up now. My apologies. I should have done this in that time while I was away, but I completely spaced it. So we're going to just do it real quick here. We've got everything else ready to go, so we're pretty much ready to push back. So I'm going to grab the next bid, KMDW to KSTL. We're good to go on that. Let me I'll bring this over here so you can see it in just a sec. So I'm just doing the usual. So I just grabbed a previous route, threw it in there, go to setup flight. 34,000 feet's what we're flying at. There we go. She's ready to go. Says it's scheduled for a 737-700. We're in an 800. We're fine with that. So we're good to go. No jump seat on this one. Move that out of my way. All right. So we're done with that. Now, GSX. Prepare for pushback and departure. We need to go nose left, tail right. I'm quite certain. Yes, nose left, tail right. There we go. We don't want to start engines before we push back. There he is coming up. There's our awesome guy who walks really funny. It's still kind of cool to have guys that move around in there and stuff, but I think they walk funny. So I'm going to break away the video here so that this clip doesn't get too terribly long while they get set up for pushback, and then we'll come back when they're ready to push. Alright, they're ready to push back. We're going to go ahead and pop the brakes off here.
Commencing push. All engines
ACARS is up and running. And away we go. So let's hop up top here. And we've got the APU bleed on. Let's go ahead and turn the packs off. Wrong way. There we go. That can stay on auto. And let's go ahead and start engine number 2. Flip it over to ground. Check down here, you can see the N2 starting to come up. Once again, we're waiting for the N2 to get past 25. Once it's past 25, then we can go ahead and introduce fuel to the engine. With that in mind, let's go ahead and let it get there real quick. There we go, there's 25. So I was thinking about turning on service-based failures on this because I'm going to be flying this aircraft quite a bit here for a little while, but remember, I put out that challenge, that repaint challenge. Now, I've had 3 entries for the repaint challenge. One of them, I sent an email back to you. You emailed me the files. For some reason, they won't show up. I don't know why they're not showing up. So I don't know if maybe there's something you can do to help with that or what. But only 3 entries, guys. I'd really like to see some more entries for that. Remember, keep in mind, Number one, everybody who submits an entry, as long as I can get it to work, I'm going to do at least one flight in your repaint, and we're going to go ahead. We're going to make sure we showcase who you are on here and give you credit for the repaint. And then whichever repaint is selected, every time I fly a 737 flight in a PMDG aircraft, from here forward, or from that point forward, once we've flown at least every repaint once, come on, brain, function. Every flight will be in that repaint, and you'll get credit on video every single time I do that flight. Let's go ahead and get the next engine fired up here. So, you know, it'd really be great to see a lot more entries for that. I mean, what I'm seeing so far looks fantastic. So, you know, certainly not disappointed by any means, but please take an opportunity if you know how to repaint.
Set parking brakes.
Please submit something, and you can submit up to, each individual can submit up to 3 repaints. Up to 3 repaints. And I believe I said until December 15th. So up to 3 repaints per individual, and then I will select the one that I like best, and that'll be the one I fly for a long time. So yeah, anyway, engine number 1 is starting up now. Let's see, push and start checklist. Since
Fuel
it,
truck disconnected. Bypass main removed.
yeah. Okay, so passenger boarding was complete. Doors were closed. Clearance for push was good. Throttles idle. We're all the way up to. Okay, so the APU was running. Fuel pumps, ground crew, all of that was good. We're good to go. So let's go to our after start checklist, because we're almost stable on that engine. It'll be just another second here. So after starting, engine generators need to come on. We'll do that in a second. Matter of fact, let's just go through this as a flow. Probe heats are already on. I took care of those.
Right is clear.
Packs can go on auto. APU bleed can go off. There we go. APU can go off at this point. Lights are all good. Taxi light can come on. We'll put strobe lights on right before we get ready to depart. I forgot to turn the fasten seatbelt signs on. That's awesome. Passengers were walking around and got their butts handed to them. 34,000 is going to be our altitude for flight, and 618 is our airport elevation. So we're good on that. So let's take care of the after start checklist then. Engine generators are on. Probe heat is on. Let's move that down there. Anti-ice, we don't need it. Engine bleeds are on. Packs are on auto. Isolation valve is on auto. APU bleed is off. APU is off. External lights are as required. Master caution light is off, and then we hit the recall. Hold it down. Nothing. And nothing on that one there either. Still not going to let us do the LNAV. No big surprise there. I just heard a beeping. Was that in the airplane, or was that one of my kids? Alright, so taxi. So let's go ahead and set flaps. There's 5. That should be 10 right there. Taxi clearance, we're good on that. Ground crew salute obtained. They're off and running. They're off to the side there. Taxi, it says less than 20 knots, but this is Southwest Airlines. We taxi right around V1. We're not going to be taxiing very far here, but I'm not going to make you sit here and watch it either. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and break the video away here as I start to pull out. Remember, there is no departure briefing on this one, because once again, we're going direct. There was no SID for the runway that we chose and the direction that we're heading. So we're going to be flying direct. We've already got all that set up, so I'll see you back here. Won't take but a second, but I'm not going to make you watch it. Alright then, didn't take but a minute. We're holding short of runway 22 left. Before takeoff checklist, let's take care of a couple things first, then we'll go through the checklist. Runway turn-off lights, landing lights can come on. Let's make sure that the transponder and TCAS are on. They are. Still won't let us do LNAV, will it? Nope. Auto throttle can be armed at this point. There she is. She's good to go. So, master caution light is off. We do need to hit recall again. Nothing staying up on the recall, so we're good on that. Flight controls free and correct. Again, if you guys know of something on here where you can check it, where you can pull something up on one of the displays, let me know. But in the meantime, we'll just check and make sure everything's moving the way it's supposed to, and it is. So we're good on that. Flaps are set. We're at flaps 10. Let's make sure those agree. So flaps 10 there, flaps 10 there. They do agree, so we're good on that. Trim has been checked and set. Flight directors are on. Double check those. On and on. Is that one on? Yes, it was. Okay, flight director is on. Takeoff briefing is complete. Takeoff clearance is obtained. Strobe lights can come on at this point. There we go. Wing lights are on. Landing lights are on. Runway turnoff lights are on. Engine start switches need to be on continuous. Roll them to the right, one each. Auto throttle is armed and transponder is set to TARA, which means, little jump here, let's get her on the runway and let's get this bird in the air because this has been a long day. The good news is day 2 is only going to require 2 flights of our time, so that'll certainly be a lot quicker. And we're going to use as much of this runway as we can. We probably won't need the whole runway. We're not heavy at all, but you know, let's just make sure we're good to go. And you know what I want to check real quick once I get lined up here, just want to make sure I got FS recorder going, because you know, we've got to get our cinematics in, right? Remember now, we're going to actually get our elevator music for all 3 flights on departure here, so that's good. FS recorder still recording. Yep, I meant to actually turn it off after we landed on this one, but I forgot to. Anyway, yep, we're good to go. Let's get this bird in the air. So bring her up to around 60. I think some people say it's supposed to be 70, 75, but 60 something works for me. Stabilize. There we go. Hit the toga button. Keep the hands on the throttles here in case we need to reject takeoff. Work on keeping her down the middle, sort of. Okay, missed the 80 knot call. Here's V1.
Rotate.
Okay, pull her back.
V2.
Looking good. Follow that flight director. Up, up, and away. Positive rate of climb. Let's go ahead and get the landing gear up. There it is. I think that flight director wants me to climb a little fast, personally.
Gear up.
20 degrees nose up, that's high. I mean, look at that. That sucker's climbing right now. Now she wants to come back down a little. There we go. I'm actually just a little below it, but that's all right. And there's the decel point. So she wants to come way down. Just a little bit of turn to the right, not much. We just straight a little. Down a little more. Just following the flight director right now, that's all. For those of you who don't know, the flight director is the magenta or pink lines there. Alright, we're well above flaps 5. Let's go ahead and take it to flaps 5 there. Still isn't having us turn, which is a little... I'm going to go ahead and start the turn here. And I'm going to go ahead and engage the autopilot. It's a little choppy. I don't want to be messing around with it. Okay, so now LNAV coming on, good to go. Okay, flaps can come all the way up because by the time they get there, we're going to be well above our minimum speed for flaps up. So that's good. Let me turn the track IR off here so we don't bounce around too much as I'm doing my thing. Auto brakes can come off at this point. Once those flaps get all the way up, the speed should increase. There we go, going to 250. We're climbing good right now. The engines are looking good. Nothing looks like it's having any problems. We don't have any cautions or warnings, nothing like that. So let's go ahead and take care of our after takeoff checklist. Positive rate of climb has already been established and the gear is up. Climb speed V2 plus 20. We're well past that. Let's see. It's kind of weird the way this one's written. Speed to 250 or VNAV. We're on VNAV mode, so we're good there. Gear needs to go off. I almost always forget that. Click where it says off and it turns it off. I got yelled at a lot for that. Auto brakes off. We've taken care of that. And then engine starters off. I always forget that one as well. All right. That takes care of our after takeoff checklist. There's a climb checklist. Just making sure the VNAV is engaged. Turning off seatbelt signs and landing lights and all that stuff once we clear 10,000 feet, which we're coming up on here pretty quick. And then transition altitude, making sure we reset the altimeters to standard once we pass transition altitude. Keeping in mind that here in the good old US of A, transition altitude is 18,000 feet. Spin that up just a little more so we can see where we're going. Coming up on 10,000 feet here. There she is. Let's turn the landing lights off. Runway turn off lights off. And we are rocking and rolling, and that means, ladies and gentlemen, finally, after 3 flights or 3 takeoffs, it's time for some of that very obligatory elevator music. Alright, as we finish this first series of flights, coming back into St. Louis via the Vandalia 8 arrival, or VLA 8, and we're going to start our arrival on the SPI, or Spinner VOR. And for those of you who've been paying attention, we started our arrival into Detroit on the SPI Spinner VOR. So it's kind of interesting, actually, that there's 2 Spinner VORs out there, but they're nowhere near each other, so I suppose it's not really a problem. Anyway, coming in here off of Spinner VOR, we'll scoot on down here to Litch, and from Litch on down to Muzzle, I don't know, you decide. We do have this number 3 floating over here, and I'm looking here. It is vertical navigation planning information for Muzzle. If we're taking runway 6, 11, 12 left or 12 right, expect clearance to cross Muzzle at 11,000, and we'll know more about whether or not we're going to be doing that once we figure out what our approach is going to be. We'll be figuring that out here shortly, and then you'll get a briefing on it. But anyway, Muzzle, and then we'll either bang a right down here to Shand, or we'll continue straight out here to Troy or TOI VOR, and then on in from there. And your approach briefing, of course, will get you squared away on which one it's going to be. The ATIS is going to be on 125.025, and approach control on 121.025. Again, we're out in the flatlands here, so we don't have to worry about any obstacles or anything like that. Just lots of traffic and lots of fun. So off we go then. Alright, coming up on the top of descent here pretty quick, about 10 nautical miles out. This was actually a really short flight. It's scheduled for an hour and 5 minutes. And we are 30 minutes into the flight right now, and we're maybe 20 minutes out from actually landing. So we're going to be a little bit early, which reminds me what I think I need to do, even though we're doing quick turns for these flights. Hold on, let's go ahead and let's change our altitude here. 3,400 is where we need to be. You'll see that there's another hiccup. When we do the approach briefing, you'll see that. So that'll start the descent automatically. So we're going to go on that. So now I can talk for a second. Even though we're doing like a quick turn, this flight was scheduled to depart at 2350, and we departed at 2013 because we just did a quick turn. So I think what I need to do for these is while I'm taking that little break away to grab the flight plan for the next flight and all that stuff, I need to try to remember to change the time on the simulator to match about what time it should be, because you figure it's probably taking us what actual quick turn time is maybe 15 minutes, 20-minute turnaround, something like that. I don't know. I have to look at the clips, but so if I switch the time to 20 minutes before departure, the catch is this: ACAR starts tracking it once you turn the parking brake off. So we didn't turn the parking brake off until we push to start, which means all that actual turn time wasn't counted. So maybe, not only do we need to change the time, but maybe we need to, once we got ACARs up and running, there's the descent starting right there. Once we got ACARs up and running, maybe what we need to do is go ahead and take the parking brakes off and then put them back on real quick, just so that ACARs will start, and that way, because that's part of the flight time, guys. When the flight's scheduled for an hour and 5 minutes, that's supposed to include time on the ground to load passengers, fuel, whatever else, taxi time to the runway. That's what all that includes, and it also includes the taxi time in and shutdown when you get to your arrival airport. So we're actually way ahead of schedule, because there was like 20 minutes in there that we didn't count. We'd actually be almost right on schedule if we had shut the parking brakes off, if we'd have turned the parking brakes off and then back on real quick, that would have started ACARs right away. So I'm getting the stink eye from Ashley over here, and she probably wants to talk again. But anyway, we're on the descent now, so let's take care of the descent checklist real quick, and then I'll hop off here until we get onto the approach. So speed needs to be monitored, transition altitude, and we got an AFK. Let's take care of that really quick. 121.30. Put that in there, and we're moving in. Okay, so transition altitude, once we hit that, obviously 18,000 feet. Our altimeter setting will be 3034. At 10,000 feet, seatbelt signs will come on there on auto, and then landing lights and all that good stuff. So that is it. We're going to go ahead and continue the descent here, and then once we get, actually we're going to go right into the approach briefing here in just a minute, and then once we get on to approach, we'll actually take care of the approach checklist. Alright, so as previously mentioned, it's going to be the ILS, or localizer runway 6 approach into St. Louis today. 1110.3 is our ILS frequency. We're going to be coming out here, you saw me put it into the FMC, we're going to be coming out here at ENCO, and from ENCO to Wood, and Wood to Tony, and then on in from there. Pretty straightforward, not too difficult, not a lot of high terrain or anything like that. Let's take a look at the profile view. So it doesn't have anything for ENCO, but when we get down here to Wood, we want to be at 3,400 feet, and then our descent point will start. It's actually got two of them there. I don't really understand what. It's got one at Wood and one at distance 8.2, which is only 0.3 miles from Wood. So you can see Wood is 8.5. This is 8.2. What's the difference? Anyway, 063 degrees on down to our final approach point and final approach fix at Tony. And then on in from there, unless of course we have to perform a missed approach. If we do go missed, it'll be climbing at 063 degrees to ST up to 3,000 feet. And then if we look up here, we can see that this is ST out here, so straight out here to ST, and that's it. We hold there. Now it's a non-standard pattern. Instead of right hand, it's a left-hand pattern. So I believe that is, and for those of you who are instrument rated, I believe that's a teardrop entry. You would cross over here, turn 45 degrees for 1 minute, and then circle back, and then there you go, I believe. But I could be wrong about that. I'm not instrument qualified. Anyway, ATIS is on 125.025, tower on 120.050. Let's see, it's got north and south tower. Is that what that is? North is 120.050, north 118.50, and south 1. That's crazy right there. You can hear the aircraft in the background just past transition altitude as I'm doing this briefing. Ground on 121.9, unless you're on the west side, it looks like, then it's 118.925. I don't know. We're not talking to ATC on this one, so I'm not too worried about it. There is your approach briefing. Now I have to go fly the airplane. Alright, as you can see here, we're getting pretty close to ENCO. I put an additional waypoint in here because it had us coming straight up here and then flipping a UE, which doesn't work very well. So I set one 5 miles out to the side here, so once we hit that, we'll swing around, hit ENCO, and we'll be lined up there. So let's start this approach checklist. The approach has been selected and briefed. The nav radios need to be set for the approach, and you may recall it's 110.3 for the frequency. And I've got that in both nav radios, 110.3, and that would allow us to auto land if we wanted. We won't be doing that. I don't know why it gets so choppy right now. My throat hurts. We want to intercept at 180 knots, so we're actually going to go ahead and slow it down here. In fact, I'm going to slow it down just like I did, I think it was the first flight in this series. Right as we're getting ready to start the turn here, which will be shortly, in fact, the decel pointing, we're going to slow it down to 180 knots. And as we go through the turn, the aircraft is going to try and maintain altitude, which is going to increase drag and therefore help it to slow down. So that's going to work out well for us. And let's see what else. Auto brake needs to be set. We don't really need the auto brake on this. We've got plenty of runway to work with, but I'm going to go ahead and set it anyway because I would rather exit earlier on the runway because we got a long taxi back otherwise. And auto spoilers are already armed. I've gone ahead and armed those. Engine start switches need to go to continuous. There we go. Let's go ahead and start slowing it down to 180 knots here. The final approach fix. Once we swing around the corner here, we'll intercept the localizer. Now again, I'm not hitting the VOR localizer button yet because I don't want it to change its turn radius here. I want it to go ahead and make this turn all the way around, but as we start to come around, I definitely want it to intercept that localizer. So once we get a little past 90 degrees probably, I'll go ahead and hit the localizer button, and then once it's intercepted the localizer, we'll hit the approach button and wait for it to intercept the glide slope. So looking pretty good on everything so far. We obviously do not have our gear down, full flaps, or anything like that yet. So we are at flaps 5. We'll stay there for the moment. Pretty nice view out there, not too bad. Coming around, coming around. So we're at 90 degrees right now from our final approach fix. That's what I haven't put in yet. That's 063 degrees. Let's put that in the course. Probably should put that in there, huh? 063. We'll put it in the heading as well. Okay, and it should start. There we go. Now it's starting to turn. I don't know why we got a little chop out there. We shouldn't, but we have it, so it is what it is. Let's go ahead and hit the VOR localizer, and you can see it intercepted immediately. So since we've already intercepted that, we can hit the approach button as well, and now we're below glide slope. You can see here, so glide slope is armed, but not active at the moment. It's just armed, and that's fine. And you really want to intercept the glide slope from below anyway. So there's nothing wrong with that. We want it to be below. It'll go all the way down to 3,400 feet, which is about another 550 feet to go here. And then it'll level off, and it'll stay there until this diamond hits the center here, and then it'll automatically intercept the glide slope and begin descending towards the runway. So that's perfect. So let's go ahead. We haven't selected our approach reference yet. We probably should have done that sooner. It's going to be 131 knots. We got just a little extra fuel on here. Remember, I didn't add much extra, and I'm glad I didn't because we didn't hardly burn it off. So 131, so we want to be at 136. We don't need to get there yet, but we certainly can slow down a little bit because we're a lot closer than you think we are. So let's take it down to 160. Let's go ahead and throw to flaps 10. Gear coming down. And we'll take it to flaps 15. There we go. So you can see it's intercepted the glide slope now. It says single channel. If I hit the other command switch, it will auto land. We're not going to auto land it, but I went ahead and hit the command switch anyway. Boy, it went to flaps 25, didn't it? Okay, that's fine. Let's go ahead and take that speed all the way down to 136. Let's let it slow down, get itself stabilized. There's flaps 30 coming in right there. And full flaps. Alright. Looking pretty good. Everything's nice and stable. That's what we want. A nice stable approach. Some guys like to approach a little faster. They say, oh, you should approach quicker. Other guys say, oh, nice, long, stable approach. Enjoy the scenery, all of that good stuff. Well, to each their own, whatever your preference is. In our case, we've got about 8 nautical miles to go here until we touch down on the runway. So we're going to have a pretty long and pretty stabilized approach. So that's good. Let's see here. So let me just pulling up a chart over here real quick. So landing on runway 6, we either get off at Foxtrot, which is just past runway 12 left, or we have to go all the way to the end of Papa. So actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and put the auto brakes up one more, because I'd really like to get off at Foxtrot so that we don't have to taxi all the way back. So I want to exit at Foxtrot and then take that down to Papa, cross 2 runways, and that'll take us right into the terminal area. Terminal area is over here. We're landing out this way, so as you can see. Alright, let's get the track IR on here. A little jump. There it is. And it's crooked. Of course it is. Okay, everything's as stable as it's possibly going to get. Let's go ahead and take the autopilot off first. Okay, we have control of the aircraft now. Everything's looking good. We can take the auto throttle off as well, but first, it's going to be about spot on actually. Watch. So auto throttle off, and then as soon as I move them, yeah, we were pretty much spot on. So we're looking good. Rated descent, drop just a little bit. We don't want that, obviously. We want to keep it where it was. And we're just going to fly that glide slope. Now, there's 2 ways to do it at this point. You can use the PAPI lights on the right-hand side there, which it's a bit of a pain in FSX because of the way they change. In the real world, they actually change quite gradually because it has to do with the angle you're looking at the lights from. But in FSX, they jump in and out, right? So, boy, we got like no wind right now. Well, it is below 6 knots, so really I'm just trying to keep it on the glide slope. I'm watching my little diamond there, my little magenta diamond, and then glancing up at my PAPI lights there. Boy, I need to put a little bit of a dead zone into this yoke, huh? Rated descent looks pretty good. Speed's just about spot on, maybe a touch low. It's alright though.
500.
Alright, let's listen to the call outs all the way in, and let's see if we can get off at Foxtrot there.
400.
All that wobbling is me.
300. Minimums. 100. 50. 40. 30. 20. 10.
Not too shabby. Let's get those reversers in there. Turn the auto brakes off, and there she is, Foxtrot. We nailed it. Let's get her off here. Bring it to a stop. Turn the track IR off here. And let's take care of this after landing checklist. We want to make sure that the spoilers are back down, the flaps are coming up, the auto brakes are off, landing lights can go off, runway turn off lights, taxi lights can come on, and strobe lights can go off. Let's see what our after landing checklist actually says. Speed brake lever is up, flaps are up, probe heat can come off. I keep forgetting that one. Window heat can probably go off too, right? I'm sure that's coming next. Maybe not. Engine start switches can go off. There we go. Landing lights off, taxi lights on, strobe lights off, flight directors off. Flight directors are down here, not up there. Flight directors off. We can turn off the master caution. We can turn the TCAS to standby, and the APU can get fired up. And we're just going to keep in the habit of doing that for now. So she's fired up. I'm going to start taxiing in. Shouldn't take too long because we did get off at Foxtrot, so we don't have to come all the way down. However, I'm not going to make you sit here and watch it. So I'm going to go ahead and take care of the taxi in, and I will see all of you here in just a minute. Alright, we got us a parking spot. Wasn't too hard. There's nobody here, just us. Anyway, let's go ahead and start shutting things down. First thing I want to do is I want to hop up top, and once again, as I pulled in, I forgot to turn off the taxi light. Go ahead and put the power over from the APU. Leave that APU running. That's off. Packs are good right now. So let's go ahead and let's bring the jetway over and open the door. Let's see if that jetway is coming over. Oh, good, it is. Okay, doors. Technically, I guess I should wait to open it until the jetway's over there, so nobody falls out of the airplane. But anyway. Okay, engine's coming off at this point. Flight directors can both... oh, we already turned them off, didn't we? Dirt! Let's see... We turn that off, we turn that off, we turn that off. We can turn off the yaw damper, which is this guy, not that guy. And let's take a look at our shutdown checklist. Brakes are on, start levers are in the cutoff position. We do need to do ground power. I knew I was forgetting something. Go to the menu button. FS actions, ground connections. We got to set the wheel chocks first. Set the ground power, jump back up top here. Flip the ground power on, which means we can do that number, I believe. Turn the APU off. We can go ahead and turn off fast seatbelt sign now. Okay. Doors and stairs. We want to offload passengers, right? I hit the wrong button there, sorry. Jetway's connected, so let's go ahead and request deboarding. Jump back down here and go to doors. That one's already open. Aft one open, and the cargo doors open, and they can start deboarding now. Okay, so ground power is good, doors and stairs are good. Fuel pumps all need to come off. 1, 2, 3, and 4. We weren't using the center on this one. Signs are already off. Window heat is off. Probe heat is off. Electric hydraulics. These two can go off. The other two can stay on. All bleeds off. Okay, all bleeds are off. Oh, that's them offloading now. Isolation valve can be closed. Let's hop up top so we can see a little bit better. Isolation valve, right click it twice and that closes it. Recirc fans are on auto. They remain there. External lighting all goes off at this point. Off. That's already off, off, off. Emergency exit lights can go off. Right click and then right click again and that turns those off. Now the battery can come off. And that is this guy here. Right click and right click. Battery comes off, and then ground power can go off. And there we go, ladies and gentlemen. Shut down. I have no idea why it insists on trying to offload from the rear of the aircraft, but that's what GSX does. But we're all shut down. Everything's good to go. We do need to shut down ACARS. Let's drag that over here real quick, because I keep forgetting to shut down ACARS. So it was 1 hour 2 minutes, 1 hour 5 minutes, so it actually ended up being spot on in this case. So yeah, there we go. File the PIREP, good to go. Close that out, and remember, even if you're doing a quick turn, close this out and then restart it. Trust me on that, you'll want to. Okay, so that was 3 flights. 3 flights in one day. I know it makes for a long video. I appreciate you joining me for the entire trip. We've got a lot more of these to go, but you know what? I can't pass up on this challenge. You know, PVA was kind enough to dedicate it to me, and I'm humbled by that. I'm touched, and I really, truly appreciate it. So I want to take advantage of it, and I want to do the best we can in it. So we've got day 1 done. We're going to start day 2 here really quickly as soon as we can, and we're just going to keep cranking these out and try and get all of them done before the end of December. So I know it's a little detour from what we were doing. It's going to be a lot of time in the PMDG 737, but hey, I love this airplane, so it's going to be a lot of fun. And then once we're all done with this thing, we'll get a free jump seat back to where we were, and then off we'll go from there. So in the meantime, if you haven't already done so, please go ahead and punch that subscribe button. We got 2,500 something subscribers at this point. Truly amazing. I love it. Thank you, every last one of you. I really appreciate it. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, and don't forget to hop on over to Twitch and click the follow button over there. At some point, we are going to get back to live streams, and when we start doing the live streams again, it's going to be flying the hump, flying a DC-3 together. You guys will be able to fly on FS Cloud with me, flying a DC-3 from the United States all the way over to Vietnam, recreating a flight that one of my subscribers' father did. And that's Shaker MT, one of my, he's a good friend of mine now too. So really appreciate all of your time. We're not going to hop back over to the website. What I'm going to do here is, in fact, while I'm bumping my gums, let me go ahead and pull it up, and it might just jump right up here in front of you. We'll see. Let me pull up the flight schedule here, and we'll see which page, whether it pulls up on my left screen or right in front of your face here. Looks like it's going to be the left screen. All right, so we can go in here and we can mark complete. And no, we don't want to go there. And complete. And then we will send this, once the week is complete, we will send this into, let's save that, send this into PVA for full approval or whatever it is they're going to do, whatever the jester does. And then we'll move on to week 2. So great time. Remember, the next series of flights, these 2 flights here, these are going to start again from this same screen. We're not going to go back to the website every time, not for this. It's going to be a little quicker this way. So that's going to wrap it up for this one, folks. As always, keep the blue side up unless otherwise instructed by ATC. God bless you all and have a fantastic day.